You good, brother? I hope the intro played, man. I hope
You know,
everything
I
good.
always had love for dogs. Dogs always like was my first love. But like when I started my podcast and when I started YouTube, it was a little bit different for me. I wanted to bring awareness to some of the health problems that certain breeds would have that might be underlying that the average consumer or the average owner might not know about. I wanted to bring awareness to how important it is to deworm your dog, or how important it is to make sure your dog get their blood work done at once a year. And I definitely wanted to bring awareness to saving money in your pocket, because dogs cost. So Duro Lounge is one of those things where we conversate about things that we went through, things that we had to deal with, and what you might see in the future.
Okay, for a second.
Yo, 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 yo. Welcome back to Doro Recio Bully Camp. What's that word, man? How everybody feeling?
Good.
I'm good.
Good, good. We got
What's up,
Yellow
brothers?
One, the Samba Kennels Midwest, and we got my brother's Kennels on the panel today. I want to make this a real good interview, Vito, because I like to have fun, man. So, my first question um, from you would be like, tell us a little bit about, you and how you got into dogs.
Oh, goes way back because I'm old, but I don't know. It's weird. My parents are from Sicily, or my parents were from Sicily, so I'm a first generation kid,
Hmm.
and my parents like animals, but they like other people to own them. they were kind of neat freaks, and I don't know why. None of my brothers and sisters were into dogs, but I always was begging for a dog. I used to run around the hood and take stray dogs and bring them home and tell my dad, "This one saved my life. Can I keep him? He's on the street. He needs help." And he was always, "No, no, that dogs are for somebody who's got a big yard, or somebody's got, we don't have room for a dog." Then finally I got one when I was
Right.
like 9, and I just been a dog nut my whole life. I never thought I'd be a breeder, but well, I think I learned to read from dog books. That was the only thing I was really
Yep.
interested
Yep.
in as a kid.
That's weird. Me
So
too. Yep.
yeah, it's strange. Like I said, I don't come from a family of, my dad loved nature and watching, but his idea was like watching animal shows. He wasn't getting out there with the dogs and stuff. But because of me, we had a dog for 18 years, and he loved the dog. He loved her, even though she was a pain in the ass when we first got her. We we went to
Right.
a pet store, and I was only 9 years old, and we had the dog for months. We didn't know it was a female till males started coming around, and my dad's like, "Hey," he asked the neighbor, "This isn't a male dog. I told her I wanted a male dog." So
You say
that's what I
18 years. What type of dog was
Well, they told us it was a Manchester Terrier Beagle, but man, in the 70s, Manchester Terriers still today, that's kind of a rare dog. And
it? Yeah,
she
yeah.
was black.
I'm just like, I heard 18 years. I'm like, that's a long lifespan for a dog.
Oh, you couldn't
Sure.
kill this little
Hmm.
dog. She definitely was half Beagle. I think she was half Pit Bull because we didn't have a fenced in yard. So I had to keep her on a chain that was bolted to the side of our garage for probably the first, I don't know, 5 years of her life. And she would jump vertical. She could, get, and she was only a small dog, like 38 pounds. She'd get as high as a man's head. And I mean, I've never seen a Manchester Terrier, so maybe they were like that. But I know a Beagle. I know Beagle's doing that. So, and she was
what?
scrappy.
Why did you have to chain her up though?
Well, we lived in a neighborhood where you're not really supposed to have fences, and everybody had like a big front yard, but a little smaller backyard. And
Uh
so
huh.
eventually, and she was nutty. She definitely probably had pit bull, or she leaned more towards the terrier because she'd
Got you.
fight.
That's what. Yeah, yeah. Because I heard you say you think she was big on a pit bull, and then you was training her up on the side. That's what I was wondering.
Yeah, as she got older,
Naturally protective.
yeah, kind of, just kind of terrier. She'd want to kill stuff or
Yeah.
chase stuff, or and she didn't take a lot of crap from other dogs, even though they were bigger than her. When I was a kid, I remember eventually, we'd let her. She'd just be loose. And when it got cold, she could come in, but I trained her to stay in the kitchen. Otherwise, she wouldn't be able to stay in the house because my parents, my dad especially, wouldn't let her. He didn't want a dog up on the furniture or walking on the carpet or nothing. So, but she was out and she had a doggy door to go in the garage. Anyway, I woke up hearing a bunch of dogs fighting, and then I look out my window and I see my dad with a hockey stick smacking
Hmm.
something. He was so pissed. I ran out there and I grabbed her, and she'd gotten bitten a little bit. And he's like, "This stupid dog. I broke the dogs off of her, and the idiot runs up and jumps right back on him. Is she stupid? They're 3 times bigger than her." And so I'm like, now looking back, I'm like, yeah, she probably had, pit bull in her.
Yeah.
If not, I don't know anything about Manchester Terriers, but I thought that was like an old lady's dog. But she lived to be freaking 18, I think it was. Yeah, I wasn't living at home. I was like 27. And
Nah, that's beautiful though. 18 years with a dog, man.
I went to go have her put down. I called my brothers and my sister, and I said, "Man, I'm going to have to put Maddie down." She was blind. My parents took care of her, and she never went anywhere, but it was like really hot. I took her to this, it was like August. It was one of these August where it's like every day is 110 degrees. So I took her to this vet, and the asshole, he goes, "Why do you want to kill her?" I'm like, "What? She's 18. She can't see. She can't hear. And her mouth is swollen." He goes, "She got a strong heart." So I felt bad. I thought, "Oh, what the hell?" I was all ready to put her down. And so I brought her home, gave her medicine. Her teeth healed up because she had swollen gums. But then, like 3 days later, my mom's calling me crying, "Maddie's gone. We can't find her anywhere." And I'm like, "What? She's so old. Where would she go?" And I
She
never knew
died under
this.
something.
Well, I never knew this. And I started hearing this from all these people because I was calling the pound. I was looking everywhere. And they're like, "Yeah, a lot of times, when an old dog gets old, they know they're going to die. They go off and die.
Hmm.
And you might not find her. She might be under a big pine tree or something." So I think that's what she did.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
But that pissed me off because I'd have felt much better if I just had her put down,
Put down. Yeah, yeah.
'cause- but she didn't get hit by a car or anything, so she had to just go somewhere. And it was so hot, man. It was like 110 that summer.
Yes, yeah, so she definitely wandered off and just passed out somewhere.
She
Probably
taught
did you
me,
a favor for real.
Yeah.
yeah, she taught me a whole bunch of
Probably
stuff.
did you a favor.
She taught me about taking care of dogs. Because when I first got her, even I was 9 years old, my dad's like, "You said you're taking care of her. Now you're taking care of her." So I mean, I had to feed her, I had to clean up her crap, I did everything. Even if my mom wanted to do it, my dad's like, "No, he wanted that dog. He's going to take care of it." But that
That's
lasted
hey,
about 3 years.
that's for a lot of us too though. Like what you just said, that's almost universal, man. Like starting to care for a dog before you start to care for anything else, just learning responsibilities. Like people who pick up the passion for a dog when you're younger. You know what I mean? So we definitely can relate to that for sure.
Yeah, yeah. I was raised a little different because I was first generation. My parents were immigrants. They didn't speak great English, so they leaned on us kids for a lot of stuff. I was 10 years old calling the washing machine repair guy. He's like, "Where's your parents? Let me talk to your parents." I said, "Oh, they don't speak good English. Let me. You're dealing with me today."
He said, "I'm
we
the adult here."
Yeah, my parents were from the old country. You had responsibilities. You had to do your shit. There was no. They worked like crazy, so you did too.
That's respect.
Yeah. Who's this? This yellow. Yellow came back. Yellow dropped off.
I'm back.
Yellow,
Yeah,
you
yeah, I'm
good?
good. I'm good.
Okay. Um.
So what y'all been talking?
So let me ask
Oh,
you
go
this,
ahead. Go ahead.
Vito. We was just talking about you ain't missed
Okay.
much. We was just Vito was just telling us how he got started, how how he loved dogs and stuff like that.
Okay.
But I wanted to ask, um, what does building a program really mean to you, Vito? Like when you get into because you was breeding American bulldogs, so doing that, like how did you get into that, and what did you look for when you was breeding American bulldogs?
Well, I got into American Bulldogs. I was into Dobermans from like the mid '70s to the '90s, and well, till about '87, I think it was, or something like that. And I got my first house, and I
Mm.
bought a Doberman, and he ended up. I had to put him down at 3 years of age. He had this weird diabetes insipidus, and I kind of knew those Dobermans had a lot of weird stuff, cardiomyopathy, that von Willebrand's disease, and a lot of stuff. And it just messed me up. It screwed me up so bad because I really spent some time training this dog. When you raise a dog to 3 years of age, you put all the work in there. So I was in love with him, and then I had to put him down. So I was like, I'm never buying another AKC freaking dog ever. I don't want nothing to do with. So I kept looking into. I knew about all kinds of rare breeds. I collect dog books, and I had this book, uh, The World of Fighting Dogs, and I was all into game bred pit bulls from an early age. And so I read everything I could about game dogs. And if I ever met anybody, I'd talk their arm off. So I didn't know what an American Bulldog was. And I read the little thing and I thought, that's kind of interesting. They're big, rough and tumble, a bulldog that originated in the United States, blah, blah, blah. And so at first I thought about getting one when I had the Doberman. And, but I was married, and my ex-wife, she was kind of a bimbo and kind of prissy. I didn't think she could handle a dog that had any kind of gameness to it. But the weird thing is, she couldn't handle the Doberman. I mean, the Doberman, he was a punk. He was just from show lines. He's a Doberman. He's not a fighting dog. But he'd do
Yeah.
shit like he'd grab the kitchen towel off of the oven door, and he'd go underneath the kitchen table and start shredding it. And boy, that pissed her off because that was her special towel. So she'd get down there to get it, and he would snarl his teeth at her and kind of growl at her because he knew he could punk her out. He didn't have any grit to him. He wouldn't have bit her. And so
Yeah.
she would freak out though. So when I got like my third American Bulldog that I ended up keeping, he was extremely huge and he was extremely dog aggressive. Like, this dog's wish in life was to fight another dog. So he was dominant that way, and he actually grew up to be kind of civil and kind of weird about grown men. But that most American Bulldogs are like this. If my wife yelled at them, they would sulk all day till she got back home from
Yeah.
work.
Hmm.
And these are big, rough dogs. Most people don't think that. They think, oh, they're tough. They're tough on everybody. No, a good bulldog is usually just very devoted to their people, you know. And I understand where it
Yep.
comes from, but it comes from game dogs, for, I don't know, who knows how many years. People that fought dogs were pretty poor, and the dogs didn't live in a $1 million kennel. They lived in a dirt hut with grandma, grandpa, aunt, uncle, the kids. Everybody lived, slept in the same bed. They didn't come from anything. And then they would fight the dogs. And when they fought them, a lot of times they'd have the kids right down there on the floor saying, come on, Spot, we need this money. And, if a pit bull or fighting type dog turned and bit anybody in the ring, they'd just cut his throat right there and kill him because that was so dishonorable. They would call him a man biting cur. So that's the weird dichotomy of a bulldog is they're hell on another animal, but they don't have natural human aggression usually. Some of them can, but
Right.
most of them don't. But I got the American Bulldogs, and I was talking to John D. Johnson all the time, and I had got two that didn't turn out. One was she was just nuts. She was cowhocked, and she had pink eyelids and a pink nose, and the final straw was she busted out a picket in my fence and grabbed my neighbor's Labrador and beat it up. Cost me like $500 back then. It was a lot of money, and so I found her a home. And then I redid my fence and got more. But my first one was this big monster dog. He got to be about 148 pounds and like 29 inches tall, which is ridiculously big for an American Bulldog. And he came off of this dog Johnson produced called the Rebel Rouser. It's kind of for the 100% Johnson people, it's a big deal. It was a dog the guy sold to somebody in New York, this young couple. They lived on the 4th or 5th floor of this building. And Johnson said they made the dog mean by having their friends jump in off the fire escape with wiffle ball bats and masks and, antagonizing the dog. But I don't think that's true. I think it's genetic. I know it's genetic because I saw it, dogs
Right.
grandkids off him, they all acted the same.
Hey,
And
that's definitely one way to train a dog, though.
yeah, but
If that is true.
my dog was his grandson, the Rebel Rouser's grandson, and I'm a kind of a dominant person with dogs. Like I take, if a dog's jumping all over me, I take that as an insult. My dogs have to mind me, and I just don't let them do whatever the hell they want. And I socialized the crap out of that dog. I mean, I took him everywhere. I did everything with him. And he loved kids and he loved women. He loved everybody if I was with him. But if I put him in my car and walked away, and especially if it's a grown man or a young boy or something, and they tried to touch my car, the whole freaking car would shake. He would flip out. I could put him on a leash and take him right out, and he would love on you, It was weird. And then it got to the point where my brother-in-law, my father-in-law could not come to the house if I wasn't home. He would not tolerate another man. He was fine with kids and fine with women, but he didn't like men. And that's exactly what the Rebel Rouser was. A Rebel Rouser eventually, I think his original name was Titan. Johnson called him Rebel Rouser. He sold the dog. These kids had a couple incidents. One time he jumped out the window. Somebody was arguing on the street. He jumped out the window of their car and bit somebody in the ass. And the second time was they take the elevator, and he hated men. So she got in the elevator to go down, and some guy was in a rush. And she said, please, can you wait for the next one? Because my dog doesn't like men. And he looked at her like, screw you. As soon as the door shut, he bit the guy's hand and broke like 2 bones in his hand. And then I guess, I don't know how they didn't, if cops were involved. I don't know what happened, but somehow Johnson got the dog back. They shipped it back to him. And I even saw there was a notarized letter that said, we relinquish all responsibility with this dog. So Johnson gets him. And, Johnson was older at that time. He had bad knees. There was 2 guys I used to know that went to the airport to help get the dog, and he was in a crate, and they just used a little red wagon, put him in the truck, drove him home. They stuck him in a pen with a female that was in heat and shut the door, and he was fine. Mrs. Johnson could feed him and mess with him, but Mr. Johnson couldn't get within 10 feet of his yard or he'd lose his shit. He would go crazy. So they bred him to that female, and when they went to go a couple weeks later, take that female out and put another female in there, he flipped out, and he got out broke a gate and got out. There was one more gate, and Johnson used to tell the story. I had to call my neighbor. He was a sharpshooter. And he's like, he shot him. He shot him right in the heart. And he said, that dog got back up. And then he shot him in the head or something. Johnson was kind of he embellished stuff, but I don't even know if he embellished that. But anyway, they shot him. He was crazy. He hated men, out of control. And so those puppies from that one litter went for a ton of money. and I knew all the people that got him. There was a dog called Peeler's Chief. This guy Jack Peeler in Oklahoma got him, and he was fine with him. But he had like this. He used to fight pit bulls, and he had a really heavy duty, really nice, one of the nicest kennels I've ever seen. And he was fine with Jack, but he eventually moved and left that house to his son, and his son had trouble with him. And I don't know if they tried to grab him by the collar ruff or something. The dog tried to eat him up. And this guy lived in Oklahoma. Literally, to get to his house, it took 10 minutes driving on his property. It was just flat, huge property. And just by chance, his friend was coming over that day and saved him, or he would have got, I don't know if we'd have bled out. I don't know how bad it got. So what's the guy do? He sells him to this guy in California. So that guy has him for a while, breeds him a couple times. And what happens? He goes out of town. A guy that he's, the dog knows, that takes care of the dog. He just decided he didn't like that guy that day and attacked him. And the guy barely got away. And so they had to put him down. But I could name probably 3 other stories from dogs, either off that litter or like my pup, like my dog was the grandkid. So it's genetic. I kind of traced it back to 2 dogs Johnson used, a dog called Machine Buckaroo and Machine Susie Q. Those dogs,
Wow.
they had
So when you say Johnson, right? You're talking Johnson Bulldogs.
Yeah, there was a guy that.
Okay, now I just want to be clear about it, because I understand exactly what you're saying now that you say that. It wasn't the fact that they went in there with wiffle bats and all of that. It's genetics. Because I personally breed a blue blood Alapaha bulldog, so I get that. Like, you know what I mean? The certain specific genetic of bulldog.
I've had some experience with them. There was a guy here in St. Louis years ago, had a dog. I think he was probably the 3rd owner, and he works dogs on personal protection.
That's what I do.
Yeah, and he liked the dog, but man, he became too much. But that
you said the dog became too much.
Yeah, this was.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right, because like a lot of people, not to personalize it, but a lot of people don't know, like, blue blood Alapaha bulldog in itself is a very high strung dog, and then I crossbreed it with pit bull, and I've been doing this for years. I mean, a decade or better. Been breeding dogs for decades. But you're absolutely right. But to stay on topic, that Johnson bulldog, I don't know much about Johnson bulldogs as far as myself having them, but reading upon them and researching them, I understand what you're saying.
The Johnson or the Alapaha early on had some Johnson blood in there, had a lot of similar stuff. That lady, Lanaloo Lane, I used to talk
absolutely, her and her family, right? The whole discrepancy about it. And so that research even got me into it.
Yeah. I remember she put out a really nice video years and years ago. It was pretty interesting. Had her cousins and stuff talking about, basically the Alapaha was kind of like the American Bulldog, a Southern Bulldog that was used for catch work or guarding the property or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But then she died, and she had some dogs that were a little more athletic type dogs than what you see now. And they were kind of like a Catahoula Bulldog,
Yeah, with her dreams of making a silver dollar, which would have been the bulldog, the blue blood Alapaha bulldogs bred to a Great Dane, but she died before she was able to do it. So along with all of that research, I read all of that, and that's what led to me finding my Alapaha blue blood bulldog.
I don't know as much about him now because right after, maybe it's right before she died, a guy in California, cattle rustlers, he called me about a litter that I was having of American Bulldogs. And he was definitely recreating the breed, because he bought dogs off of this American Bulldog called Crunch. And some of them were Crunch bred to English Bulldog. And then he told me about all these different things, russet crosses and all kinds of stuff. But he definitely wanted a different kind of dog. It was a little more civil and bully, more English Bulldog-y looking. But That was 30 years ago. I don't know. I don't know what's going on now.
I mean, ultimately a bully, basically.
Yeah, that seems to
You
happen with
know,
every happens with American Bulldogs too.
I mean,
John's
that's not what I have. Like, I don't have the mass that a bully have. I've never bred it because, like I said, I breed a Lapahad to pit bull. So the physique on them dogs, the structure on them dog has stayed American pit bull terrier on the rear end, which don't allow them to ever grow the mass that a bully has. They stay athletic because there's so much pit bull. Because for one, I took a half and well, almost half and half. My foundation female, she's bred a Lapahad to pit bull, and then my stud was pit bull. So we started with a very high percentage of pit bull with a touch of a Lapahad to pretty much make a better pit bull, a less stubborn pit bull, a more same drive and all of that, but with different traits.
I think that's what I've researched all these country bulldogs and what the hell is an American bulldog and what is an Alapa? What are these southern bulldogs that they always talk about? We're here for years. And I came to the conclusion, I don't have any proof, but I think what they are mainly is catch weight pit bulls that fight in dog yards they didn't test out right, or they were too big, or for whatever reason, and they give them to like a rancher or somebody that just wants a good farm dog or a good catch dog, and it became a thing down south to have this bulldog. They weren't even calling them pit bulls back then; they were just bulldogs, and so they bred them however they saw fit or whatever was around. So I'm sure somebody put Great Dane in there. Somebody tried this, tried that, because there's old songs from the turn of the century talking about my bulldog's so big he doesn't fit on the front porch. Of course, that was like 70, 80 pounds back then. Nobody had 150-pound dogs. Not many people did. But I think that's what they are. They're just a bastardized catch dog bred from catch weight pits. Probably a lot of Colby blood they brought in and stuff like that. They just call them bulldogs. So I think Johnson and Alan Scott in the 70s decided they were going to save the breed, keep it from going extinct. So they gave it a name. The first name they gave it was American Pit Bulldog. But people kept confusing it for the pit bull, so they dropped pit and just call it American Bulldog. And so that's how they got started, And they told everybody stories that these dogs came here on the Mayflower. These were bull baiting dogs from England, which I'm sure there were bull baiting dogs brought here, but I don't think they survived in the wilderness. There wasn't breeding programs. People are just like, hey, John's got a good catch dog. I need to breed it for one of my bird dogs, so I need a dog for this or that or whatever. They were just purpose-bred dogs. If they stayed that way, then the breed would have been a lot better off. But probably nobody would want one because they don't have a 30-inch head and 2-foot wide chest. That seems to be what people want. Even in American bulldogs, there's two types. There's a standard type and a classic. And the standard types they're great dogs, but nobody wants them. If you have a litter of puppies, you got to work to find good homes for them. Whereas the bully type, you'll sell them. There's more pet people because it all goes by how they look. Unfortunately, that's what is the downfall of a lot of these dogs. But yeah, I got in 30 some odd years ago, bred my first litter in 1994. I thought I knew everything. Now looking back, I didn't know nothing. So I had different goals. My biggest thing was I came from Dobermans, and there's no such thing as a really bad structured Doberman. They all move good. They're structured good. But when I get into American Bulldogs, man, they were nasty. The front end was too wide. Their elbows stuck out. Their back legs, they had cow hocks, real high rear end sometimes, bad angulation. They had missing teeth. They had all kinds of weird stuff because Johnson put an English Bulldog in, and probably other people put English Bulldog in there too.
I mean,
But
was they real slobbery like though
God, some
on a
of them,
breathing? What did they? I guess like what I'm asking, like, was they the ones that like produced a lot of saliva?
some of them do. Johnson's other thing was he wanted a giant dog. I don't know if he really had a passion for big dogs or he knew that size sold dogs for higher prices because it's not documented, but I'm positive I know he put a lot of St. Bernard in. He may have put other stuff in too because there's dogs come right off his yard. They look like a short-haired St. Bernard. They look more like a St. Bernard than an American Bulldog. And
Yeah,
he claims he's had dogs that are 170 pounds. And I had one from him that was 148 pounds, 29 inches at the shoulders. And back then you'd have them occasionally. Now that the stud book's closed and nobody's crossing stuff in, it's probably as much as they were in the beginning. And things are line bred more. Everything shrunk back down to, anywhere from 80 to 110, 115 pound dogs, usually. Some are bigger, but most are not. And a weird thing I didn't realize, I've heard stories of St. Bernards being real civil, like some of the Johnson dogs were. I'd never thought that. I thought they were like big dopes, from the Beethoven movie. But they were a little more like that Cujo movie. Some of them. I have a friend whose daughters,
Yeah.
they about 7 years ago, I guess, they were like, Dad, I want to get a St. Bernard. And he's like, what? And they like really big dogs. So they went and got one. My friend, he has some of my dogs, or used to, and he called me and said, man, I know why old man Johnson put the St. Bernard in there. I said, really? Why? And he goes, because we went to go get a dog, and the stud, the father to the puppy, was 175 pounds, and that son of a gun wanted to kill us. I said, what? He goes, yeah, he was okay with the girls, but man, he wanted to get us. He wanted to get the men. He was real defensive. And I thought, oh, that's just nonsense. That's crazy. And then I used to do CrossFit, and there was a girl that I worked out with, and she was telling me a story about her St. Bernard, that when she got engaged, the dog wanted to kill her fiance. So she had to find him a home, and found two women that took him. And I thought, well, that's weird. And then I heard another story of a St. Bernard. So I guess St. Bernards have some civil drive. I don't know. I never would have used a St. Bernard. I don't know what Johnson was thinking. The only thing I can think of is they were probably plentiful and cheap. You could probably buy one cheap at the flea market. Johnson lived through the Depression. He wasn't, that guy didn't waste any money. He lived a pretty simple life. He was a good guy. He just a working guy and did the dogs. Him and his wife did the dogs on the side. But when I got into American Bulldogs, first thing I tried to fix was the structure. And, I was a punk. I liked the big, thick, monster-looking dogs. And that's what I bred at first. And I produced some pretty decent dogs with okay structure. And after about 4 or 5 years, I was kind of well known for a couple of dogs I produced. But I sold a dog to these people that were close to my age, and they had 2 kids, like an 8-year-old and a 9-year-old. And they lived like in Maryland. So it wasn't like they lived in the South with the heat. And every day when they went to work, they put their dog out in the yard. They had a nice big fence. Everything was cool. They'd come home. The kids would come home and, mess with the dogs after school. Well, the one day the neighbor had a garage up against the property line, and they had a crew of people up there ripping the shingles off to put a new roof on. And I guess the dog went apeshit all day, barking.
That was the weirdest thing ever.
Yeah. So he overheated and died. And those 2 boys opened the gate, and that dog was dead. And when a dog overheats, a lot of times their body temperature gets so high, it actually cooks their organs, and they'll bleed sometimes out their mouth. So these people call me and tell me this, and I'm totally clueless. I have no idea. I was living in town at the time. I had quite a few dogs, but I had the side of my garage, I built a kennel that had air conditioning and heating. So I didn't know. I just I believed everything Johnson told me that these dogs could run out in the heat and catch and do work and stuff. And then I just saw so many stories of dogs overheating that when they told me that story and I thought about those two kids coming home to their freaking dog dying, dead right in front of them, blood, I thought, oh my God, I got to fix this, man. And, there's no book that says, hey, this is how you fix bad breathing in bulldogs. But I was so naive. I thought, oh, yeah, I'm just going to outcross, back, and everything will be solved. Easy, right? Wrong. 15 years later, it was like pissing in the wind, man. It was not, you'd get 1 or 2 generations of good breathing dogs. Then you'd breed them and get a whole litter of shit of bad breathing dogs. And it's kind of a weird thing. I'm kind of hated in the community because I've talked about it a lot. And a lot of the breeders, they don't want to hear anything that's not positive. And, I've gotten to the point where I'm like, this is the number one problem in the dogs. I used to be crazy for checking the hips. I did pen hip. I was like a psycho. I'd do like 3 or 4 pups out of every litter. And I wouldn't keep a dog unless it was in the top 5 or 10% of the hips for pen hip. But then I realized, hey, that's not the problem. These dogs can tolerate quite a bit of looseness of the hips because they have high pain tolerance and they got a lot of muscle in their rear. So even if they have osteoarthritis at 4 or 5 years, they can pretty much live most of their life without clinical signs of it. But there's so many stories. People every summer, these dogs die. They let them out and they forget they're outside and they bring them in. The dog's breathing funny and the people put them in their crate or whatever and go run an errand and come back and the dog's dead in air conditioning. So, and it wasn't like that when I first started. They probably weren't quite as bad, but like I said, when I first got into it, it was kind of a composite breed. The paperwork said they were pure but I know better now. That dog I had that was 148 pounds is probably a high percentage of St. Bernard. We just don't know. Everybody lies about the pedigree, so you don't really know what you're breeding. So it took me a long time. I fixed a lot of things on my dogs, the structure, the movement. I kind of changed my focus a little bit and isolated more the muscle gene in the dogs. And so my dogs are pretty muscular. And I like a drivey dog, and I like a dog that respects the owner and is devoted. So I called a lot of stuff and bred a certain way. And it took me a long time. I tried everything, outcrossing. I've inbred my dogs probably more than most people inbreed. I've line bred and I've outcrossed like crazy. And my dogs are bred totally different. There's no other bloodline out there that's kind of done what I've done. Mainly because it doesn't make you money. People want a bully dog with a fat head. So if you're breeding to a standard type dog that looks more houndy pit bull, that kills your puppy sales. Nobody wants them. But when it comes to these dogs, I'm not really a good businessman. It's my passion. I can't tell you how many new people would come to my house and I'd hear them talk shit. I don't know, that Vito, he doesn't know what the hell he's doing. What's he keeping them dogs for? But they had a different mindset. They're breeding for cosmetic looks only, They won't say that, and I was the same way. I was the same way when I first started. But when you got a problem like that to fix, and there's no, I'd ask experienced breeders, you can't ask a pit bull breeder how to fix breathing because especially if it's a game bred dog, there was no issues. They don't have that issue. They're 45, 50-pound dog with a clean breathing muzzle and a big fucking trachea that can suck in tons of air. It's different. It's the English bulldog genes that screwed everything up. So, and that's what everybody selected for in the 90s. Everybody wanted those, they called them machine style Johnson dogs because Johnson had these dogs that they really weren't American bulldogs. They were hybrid American bulldog English bulldog crosses because they were like half or 25 to 50% English bulldog. And Lana Lou Lane got some of those dogs too. She got them as puppies. I don't know if they lived or if she ever used them, but she bought dogs from Johnson. And you guys heard of Dave Levitt, the guy who started the Old English Bulldog?
Yeah,
Dave,
them Johnson
yeah.
dogs was way too tall, man. You know they was hybrids for sure,
Oh yeah, yeah.
for sure, for sure.
Yeah, I
Even
heard I
even
heard his
even,
name. Like, never
even
I
if
heard.
you Google them Johnson dogs, like the dogs that they show you on the internet, those tall white dogs, like those dogs was not the same dogs. You know what I mean? They didn't carry that same short mass, that structure that
Some of them didn't.
those.
What happened when he did the English Bulldog cross, and then he bred back to his stuff, and that stuff is probably high percentage, some kind of Mastiff or Saint Bernard. He gets some
Yeah,
big,
because that
nice
shit
looking
made it
dogs.
down here to Ohio, bro. You hear me, Vito? Some of them dogs, like that Johnson. I know a guy. He was pushing that Johnson blood back in the day, man. And it was almost how people are pushing Presa Canarios right now. Like he had the biggest dogs in town.
Oh yeah.
He had the big, and all of them. They was predominantly white, big,
Oh yeah.
beautiful dogs, man. But eventually they died off. Like you know what I mean? Like he even started putting some of them at his parents' house and everything. But then you'll look for the dog, and that same dog that he used to walk around the neighborhood, and everybody knew. Like you wouldn't 5, 6, 7 years, you wouldn't see the dog no more. Like literally, it'd be like 4, 5, 7, years. And that's why, like earlier when you said you had a dog for 18 years, I wanted to emphasize on that because the lifespan of a dog matters. Like no matter how much you breed or what you're doing, if you can't produce a great lifespan of a dog, then what are you doing?
My bloodline now, they make it to 10 to 14. I had a dog that I retired with a friend of mine. He didn't have any kids. He was a truck driver at first, and the dog went everywhere with him. And this dog Taz, he was a great dog, and he got to the point where like the dog couldn't see real well, and if he coughed, he'd poop. It was pretty bad. He was 15, and he was a big dog, like 100 when he was young. He was about 110, and I'd tell him, Chad, man, he's not going to get better. He's probably doesn't know where he's at. You might want to put him down. And he would never do it. And then finally, when he was 15, he came home. He'd made a doggy door for the dog so he could go in and out anytime he wanted. And the dog, he had like some stairs made out of wood, and the dog fell and got stuck between the house and the stairs and was sitting there for a while before he got home. And then he was like, shit, what am I doing? I
You
need to
got to
put him.
put him down or something. Yeah,
Yeah. So, I mean, he lived 15, but he probably, should have probably been put down at 13, 14. But unfortunately, I don't know what the deal is, but I don't know if it's the food nowadays or what. But it's like my dog's here. Um, about four years ago, half my yard was dogs that were 9 to 12 years old, and I love my dogs, but I don't. I also I won't let them suffer. Like if they can't get around and they're suffering, I'll put them down. I don't. I don't. I'm not trying to see how long they'll live. If they're healthy and
right.
they're
Yeah,
everything's cool, but and I can't kill these son of bitches. I mean, sometimes you know how hard it is to put a dog down, even when they're 12 and they're they can't see real well or something, whatever's wrong with them. And but sometimes it's like oh gosh, if they just fall asleep and die quietly, that'd be better than me having to put them down or take them to the vet and all that stuff. It sucks,
yeah. Go through the whole. Yeah, absolutely.
but like I said, I can't kill these suckers with a ball peen hammer. I have to put them all down. I don't know. It's maybe God's way of making me pay emotionally. I don't know. But
I mean, when you got a passion for it, you know what I mean. Like we get ourselves into some shit sometimes,
oh yeah,
and
yeah.
that's part of it. That is
I don't
part
have
of
as
it.
many. I don't have as many dogs now. I used to when I was younger. Shit, I had probably 30. I got divorced and I moved way out in the country about 22 years ago. I mean, way out in the country. And so I remember when I first moved out here, a dog would bark and I'd say, "Hey, quiet." And then I started thinking, what the hell am I saying? Nobody's going to complain. There's nobody around here. So it changed. And when you first get room, if you start keeping more dogs than you probably should. But now I just try to keep it around 10 or 11 dogs. I'm going to be 63 next month. And it takes a lot. These American bulldogs, they're not gamey, crazy
Yeah, no,
dogs.
no, no. Same here.
They'll
Same here.
fight. They'll
Well, I
fight.
wouldn't say that. Though. I can't say the same as far as that. My dogs are wild, bro. I run a pack. We real
Yeah,
wild.
I haven't done that. I will let some of my girls, if I'm with them, I'm fine. But I never let two grown males together. I raise them together, so they're cool. But I never let
Yeah, but
them.
I thought it was the pit bull, bro. Like me breeding because, like I said, I run a hybrid program. I thought it was the pit that like made them motherfuckers wild like that. Nah, it's the Alapa for sure.
You know what it is a lot in American Bulldog? It's that stupid English Bulldog. I don't know what the deal is. I
No,
I
and that's real because my worst like the dog that get on my nerves as far as like he don't cooperate with the pack. He just like every time he get around any dog, you just like he run on the side of him. He want to start something so much. It's like the one that he got the most bulldog in it.
oh
Yeah, he got the most bulldog and he's stubborn.
I had a dog here for oh a year and a half before I found him a home. I had a friend in Ohio, and he loved game dogs, like real game dogs, and he was all into that. But uh, he had this real heavy Red Boy Jocko stuff, and his friend kind of partner was a school teacher guy, and he had frozen semen on Red Boy, and
Hmm.
he had gotten this female and gave it to my friend, and he raised her, and they wanted to breed that frozen semen to her because she was line bred Red Boy Jocko, heavier on the Red Boy. And so he lives in Ohio in the suburbs and raised this dog, uh, and bred her. They wanted to breed her one time just to make sure she's a good mom before they do the frozen semen deal. So he gets all these dogs, and then him and his wife are like, they didn't want to sell them because they just didn't trust where they
They like
go.
yeah, got you.
So
They kind of fell for their litter.
yeah, so he sent two boys to that guy that had the frozen semen, and I don't. He told the guy, "Don't test my dog. Don't you do anything. You pick which one you want, and then I'll find a home for the other one." And so I don't know what the guy did, if he tested him or what he did, but he was like, "Man, I'm in a jam. I don't have room for this dog. Could you keep him for me and help me find a home for him?" I'm like, "Sure, yeah." So I get this red boy dog. He's inbred, pretty good. He's pretty tightly bred, pretty good size red brindle dog. I built I reinforced a pen with a roof on it and everything, thinking, oh, here's a game dog. I don't want him to get loose and get into it with my American Bulldogs. So I put the dog in
Hmm.
this thing, and it was so. I had chickens back then. I used to have like 60 chickens that would run all over the fucking place. And I had a buddy that came here. I had this friend. He get a week off or a couple days off. And he's like, "Man, I'm coming out." And I'm like, "What?" He'd come out here, and I'd go to work, and he'd just mess with animals. So I didn't tell him about that dog, and he got up before me. So I'm getting up, I'm looking out the window, and I see this red brindle dog run by. I'm like, "What the hell? Who's that?" And then I thought, "Oh shit, that's the pit bull." And he went down to go see him, and he opened his kennel and he flew out. And there's chickens loose everywhere. He didn't do nothing. There was other dogs in my yard too that he could have fence fought with. Nothing. Never did anything. He was the most sweet, kind of easy dog, Unless, I
Hmm.
mean, he never did anything. But from what I see, a lot of dogs that are confident, they're the real deal. They don't. unless a dog is a challenge to them or challenging them, they don't really have. They're not so crazy.
Yeah, that need to even exactly.
Yeah, it's like when you're a badass dude, you're in great shape and you fight, you know how to fight. You don't usually
Right.
walk around
You.
punching
Yep.
people.
Yep. Yep.
You know, a
Yeah.
real tough
I
guy is
agree with
pretty
you
easy.
on that. Yeah. Mhm. Yep. Hmm.
These Johnson dogs that
Hey
have,
Vito, let's do something fun real quick, Vito. I call
okay,
this rapid fire round, and you got 10 seconds to answer first thing to come to your mind.
okay,
So whatever come to your mind, just let it. Don't think too much,
okay.
because I had certain people up here like that did rapid fire round, and they was thinking too much. Like my man Rogue Wolf, he was like, come back to that one, but it's all
Oh,
good. But just the first thing that come to your mind, just let it out,
okay.
and then all right. So let's do it. Favorite dog you ever owned?
My dog Jack.
Best producer you ever seen?
Um, well, I hate to say one of my dogs, but I've seen more of them than anything else. My dog Go Ballistic.
Talk that. Talk that. Favorite bloodline?
Uh, Braveheart.
Braveheart.
uh, oh, I could say Samba. I could say Samba. I don't have a Brazilian bull bloodline, but uh,
Okay. Uh, most underrated bloodline.
of American bulldogs, um, oh, my friend out in Pennsylvania, Bullhead. I don't know if they're underrated. They're just not a lot of. Most people that are in American bulldogs have no idea anything about his bloodline,
Right.
and he has the best standard American bulldog bloodline.
Most overrated bloodline.
Uh, Probably in American bulldogs, probably the 100% Johnson stuff, and there's a whole bunch
Okay.
of reasons for that.
All right. I like that. I like that. Now, coffee or energy drink?
Oh, I'm diabetic. I can't have either, but coffee,
Coffee. Morning
black coffee,
person or night owl?
night owl.
Night owl. Um, let me see. Structure or pedigree?
Uh, oh, well, I mean, that's hard to answer because if you're just picking pedigree just because of the pedigree, no. But if you're picking
Right.
pedigree because it's loaded with awesomely structured dogs, would I rather have a subpar structured dog that comes from 5 generations of the most incredible structure? Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I take that over a dog that's got perfect structure that comes from a bunch of
I
cowhock,
like
wiggly waggly, fucked up shit.
that answer. I like that answer. Headpiece or movement?
Movement.
Movement. Male or female?
Oh, I'm crazy about females, man. I don't know what it
Yeah.
is. I love males too,
Yeah.
but if I had to start out, if I had to start over again, I want a superstar bitch. Because you can stud to any dog in the country. You just got to put out the money.
For sure.
But that's kind of how I
One
started.
mistake.
I started with a good female.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
My
You
female
started with a good
Bronzo,
female.
she was like, she was born in 1996, and I'd already bred like two or three
Hmm.
generations. I had two girls and that big boy, and I bred to this famous stud from California twice, who was her father, and then I get this female, and she changed everything. Before then I was like into bigger dogs. And she was big, like 88 pounds, but she was different. Her type was different. I'd never seen it before. She had tight skin. She had heavy muscled neck, shoulders, rear end. She was a much tighter dog than most American Bulldogs were at the time. And her pen hip was
Mm.
incredible. She had good elbows. Everything was good. Back then, she was a standout. And so she was my superstar. I got lucky to get her. And uh, I structured my line pretty much around her. I inbred her 3 times and I outcrossed her once. And I usually don't breed a bitch more than twice.
Mm.
And she died at, well, I put her
She
down
was
at 12.
special.
Yeah, she wasn't a perfect dog,
Yeah.
but the things that she had, the traits that she had were, uh, you know, really above anything I've ever seen. Her structure, her hips, her
Mm.
muscle, her type, overall type was different. At that time, American Bulldogs, they were, like I said, they were all kind of, they had thicker skin and kind of sloppy, some of them, and some of them, they looked like a little English Bulldog mix or something. They just didn't look like her. And then I sold a dog to a guy in Illinois, and he kept telling me, "Man, you got to see this dog my friend has. I met this guy at the pool hall, and he's got this dog." I'm like, "Oh, really? Who's it from?" And he said, "Brahma Stumpy." I knew all about Brahma Stumpy litters. They had like 2 of those litters, and Brahma was a effed up looking dog. He had real wide front end, a little Beetlejuice head, and a narrow rear end. He was muscular.
Mhm.
And then that Stumpy was a really good weight pull dog. I think she had a great temperament. She was a good working type dog, but her ass end was higher than her head. Her front end was real wide. She had horrendous structure. And a lot of the pups came out looking like that. So he sent me a videotape of this dog. His name was Mufasa. He's probably in
Mhm.
American Bulldogs more than anybody now. And he looked just like my bitch, real tight skin, muscle. He was a male version of her. So I kind of discovered him from this guy. And back then, we didn't have any social media. We had VHS tapes. You
Makes
had a
sense.
VCR, and I'd copy the VCR tape he sent me and sent it out to all these people I knew. And at first, how dog people are, anything different, people talk shit. Especially if some other joker has a
Yeah.
dog outstripes your dog, then and you can't compete, what do? You start talking crap about that other guy's dog. So they talk crap about Mufasa. He was
Absolutely.
a sensation. Like, he was a big sensation. He was a great dog himself, but he championed out real fast, and uh, he was a really nice dog. And of course, they said he's a cross. I know what that is. That's just a red-nosed pit bull crossed in. Somebody crossed that in, and this and that, and blah blah blah. Which he wasn't. He wasn't a cross. His dad's pedigree wasn't true. His dad was actually inbred, but it's a long story. The guy had a lie about it. And the guy might not have even known, because back then they were like, breed this bitch to every male in my yard because I need puppies. That's the kind of shit they were doing.
Right. That's exactly how it was. Yep. Yep. Yep.
So people don't realize there's a lot of weird things that go into it. People are like, I bred to this male and they didn't have any puppies. Well, I'm going to breed her to every male I got, and I'll just figure it out.
Yep.
So anyway, those 2 dogs kind of changed everything. And I tried to breed Broadzilla to Mufasa 3 freaking times, man. I paid all kinds of money for progesterone, took off work, traveled to I became really good friends with the guy who owned Mufasa, Kenny. To this day, we're still friends. And nothing. And I had to do AIs because he was so muscular and she was so muscular. He tied other bitches, but he could not tie her. I used to say maybe she was too manly looking for him or something. I don't know. But I did all these AIs, and I know how to do an AI. And I did a million AIs. She would never take, man. And she was 3 years old. I never had puppies. And I'm like, man, I got this great dog. I can't get puppies from her. So I just took her and bred her to her nephew, who lived local, not too far away. And I remember the guy that
Mhm.
owned that dog, what at the time we were kind of friends. He's kind of a jack off, but anyway, I went to his house, and that dog tied her, got a tie, and I'm walking up the hill from his house, and this is the kind of dick he is. He starts laughing. And I said, "What's so funny?" He goes, "I would have never done that breeding. Are you stupid?" And I'm like, "Why?" Well, you're inbreeding nephew to aunt on off dog. He didn't like this dog, Gator Red, and all this crap, and so I'm like, whatever. I hope it has puppies. Man, she had a litter of puppies, and they were fucking awesome. Like every
Right.
puppy was fired, and
Mm-hmm.
I based my whole everything changed. I based it off of her, and it took a lot longer to do, but and of course, after the success of that litter, that guy that was making fun of me, man, he was inbreeding his dogs. Whereas before he didn't believe in it, he wouldn't inbreed, and he had some shit dogs he shouldn't have been inbreeding on. I probably shouldn't have been inbreeding on her. I just tried it. It did work good,
But
but
that was more like a line breed than an inbreed.
yeah, I everybody
But
has a
you know what I mean?
I
Yeah, I
call
mean,
I
but
call
inbreeding eat. I mean, just for the people, like considerably, inbreeding is more like breeding a brother to sister out of the direct litter.
see
Line
I just
breeding is more kind of tapping into the same DNA from different generations.
this is how I look at it. And it's probably not scientific or anything like that, but inbreeding to me is anytime you breed a litter and
That
you go
blood back to that blood.
yeah, if you go through the ped stats, you go through the statistics of the and if there's a percentage more than 50% of any one dog that's inbred, it might
Hmm.
not severely inbred, but because when you breed a litter of dogs, it's always 50% the mother, 50% the father, right? So that's just the natural way things are. That's a natural breeding, 50-50. But let's say you breed a granddaughter to a grandpa, then it's 5/8 the grandpa. So it's more
I
than
mean,
50.
so in that case, in your opinion, does line breeding even exist?
Yeah, I think line breeding is just it's a weaker form of inbreeding, and line breeding is anytime you double up on a dog or you have a higher percentage than what is normal. Like if the grandpa is supposed to be 25% and he's 5/8, so he's what 37.5%, then that's line breeding. It's not really inbreeding till it gets over 50%. So if you breed a father to his daughter, those puppies are 75% the father. And actually,
Right.
I've never found anybody that could really argue this with me, or it has any scientific proof. But like if you take a full brother and you breed it to a full sister, let's just say there's not a lot of inbreeding in their pedigrees, those puppies are going to be no more than 50% any dog. So it's like a regular breeding. But so the you think, oh my God, brother, sister, they're 100% the same, but they're 50% the mother, 50% the father. So now those puppies are 50% the grandma, 50% the grandpa, and 50% the mother and father. So there's
Bing,
never
bingo.
No. Okay, and I agree. And I agree and disagree now. And I say that because I breed and I DNA test all my dogs, right?
me too. I did a breeding like
No,
that.
okay, but what I'm saying is I DNA test all my dogs. There is a higher percentage of dogs that if you have a litter of 11, let's say, you're gonna have a higher percentage of two or three dogs of this and that. You know what I mean? And so, with that being said, if the mother is 100% a Alapaha blue blood bulldog and a father is 100% of whatever, if you DNA test them dogs and them dogs come back 73% Alapaha blue bulldog, then you know what you're dealing with.
But
Opposed to you just taking a guess and saying that because you bred the same dog with the same mom and the same dad, right? You say 50% is produced. That is not guaranteed if you DNA test a dog, because if you DNA test a dog, it may have a higher percentage based upon DNA
you
and
you do
lineage. You may have two dogs that is like the lineage, you know what I mean, brings that back around, and you got 73% of blue blood Alapaha bulldog versus whatever you got, you know what I mean, on this side. It's not coming back 50-50.
what you're talking of like embark. You're embarking your dogs.
No, I mean just in general. It rather I embark them or anybody embark them. The DNA, if you DNA test a brother and a sister, it's not coming back 50% on both sides.
Well, you're talking about
You gotta,
breed. You're talking about
yes,
breed profiles on Embark.
Hold on, BJ. Let him answer, man.
yes.
Let me
No,
tell
yeah,
you.
yeah, no, yes. I just wanted them to be clear on what I'm saying. Yeah,
Yeah. So like they'll tell you, Embark will say, "Oh, your dog is 50% American Bulldog, 50% Pit Bull." But is that exact science? No, I'll tell you, it's not. Because what they're looking at is markers. They'll develop markers of certain breeds carry, and those markers can be shared with other breeds. But they'll after such a huge database, they get more statistical information. But if you ask them, like they like to advertise that they're 90% accurate, 80% accurate, but that's bullshit because I looked into it big time. And the like, okay, take me for instance, I don't know, 10 years ago, yeah, like I told you, my parents are both from Sicily. My little brother is all into genealogy and crap. And he looks at our family, he knows all kinds of stuff about our family. It's been in Sicily and Italy for a long time. So they came out with ancestry.com, and I thought, hey man, I'm going to do that. I'm curious to see. So I got it, and this was early on, and it came back, and it said I'm 72% Greek Italian. So at that time, they didn't have enough people in the database to distinguish Italian from Greek, because the Greeks
gotcha.
took over Sicily for a long time. But Sicily's been taken over by everybody. So and I had all this other stuff in me. And it's probably true. It's probably true because, at that time, the Mediterranean's an island. People, you get enslaved, you'd be put on a ship and you'd have to row the boat. If you broke your chains, you'd jump out and you'd swim. And then you'd come to the beach in Sicily and say, I'm Italian. Or the Vikings went there and they raped and pillaged the village, and all of a sudden those women had Viking babies. Or the Moors of North Africa, they came into Europe and pretty much pulled people out of the Dark Ages, taught them how to wipe their ass and how to take a bath every week, and taught them about algebra and how to brush their teeth and all kinds of stuff. And they dominated all over Italy and up into Spain and France and back into Africa. So, you know, there are pockets of areas that maybe are, you know, pure or, not easily, but that part of Europe, we were all mixed up. So
Hmm.
a couple of years go by and I showed it to my dad, and my dad's like, you're crazy. We don't have any Irish blood in us. I think I was like 4% Irish, and I was like 4% North African, which makes sense. That's where the Moors came from. So years go by, and my sister, somebody, I forget who, they're like, oh, we ought to test that and do dad and see if how dad's DNA compares to yours. So we did it. It was a little different, but it kind of went the same way. And though when you sign up for that stuff, they get your email and they'll send you, updates. And so like 5 or 10 years later, I went from being 72% Greek Italian to now the last time it was 97% Italian or Sicilian or whatever. I forget what it was. But it's like I didn't change, the database changed. So it's like that with dogs.
So,
And then
so you saying in other words, they saying you could have a black baby because like you got like a little bit of African in
I definitely, if one of the black girls I dated would get pregnant, that I guess I'm considered black because at one
you.
time if you have
Right,
a drop of African blood, you're black, which is cool with me. I That's where I get my swagger.
right.
But see that changed, and so I looked into it even more because it didn't make sense. Like you could have a litter of dogs embarked, and they're saying that oh well this one's 100%, and then this one here isn't. But their brother and sister, they carry the same exact pedigree, the same exact genetics. Well, not exact genetics to little traits, but they come from the same genetic parents. right?
Yeah.
So, but they're saying that no, this one's different, so the breed profile is different. So, and then the way they try to explain is they're like, well, see, now that one inherited more American Bulldog traits and this one that. So I'm like, oh, wow, they can.
And that's and that is to be true though. And that's what I was basically saying. I don't
to, to a
I
point.
get the 50-50 split on what you were saying when you say that, like same
Yeah, I mean,
parents exactly, but
that's general how people have figured stuff for years, but I don't know how scientific that is, but I looked into it even more because I thought, I don't know, that just seems kind of weird. And I
because
only,
breeding is based upon like pulling lineage out of a dog. So we're looking at carriers. We're looking at the trait that they carry. So the trait that they carry is not based upon an even split because this dog may carry 73% more of the trait than this dog.
oh yeah, the way you inherit traits is going to be different, but the breed profile percentage, that's the faulty part because there's like 3 billion genes. And when they do a breed profile, they're looking at a tiny, tiny, tiny fragment of that. And they're just coming up with these markers that pop up. Those markers are not saying anything else about all the other billions of genes. Those are just like common things that pop up on average. So they're making guesstimates on it. And it's $1 billion industry that they make a shit ton of money. I mean, everybody's got a mutt. It's like, oh, I want to find out what he is. I want to do this. And I'm not
I mean,
saying that,
but no, because like and so right. What about because like this is to be true. You can send them a swab and tell them nothing about your dog. And so
I've
even
done
if
it.
you say, but and that's I've done it each and every time though, and never have they ever sent me results that didn't. I didn't get a golden doodle off a swab, off of telling them nothing. Like
Right.
bat a swab the dog, send it off. I'm not telling you no information on his dog because that is the thing that I'm spending my money on. Like I'm not going to tell you that this dog come from this and that because then you can lie to me. So I swab the dog and I send it off. You know what I mean? Like and so therefore, if you tell me you have no idea that this dog has any type of bulldog in it, whether it's Johnson's or mine's, yours, whatever the Greek, they don't know it, know nothing, but they send you a dog and it says exactly what you have. Like so, I mean, do they know magic?
That the thing is, it's a database, and the more animals in that database, the more accurate it can be, but it's too limited to a point. It's not exact science. And if they say your dog is 100% American Bulldog or whatever other breeds in there, uh, that doesn't translate to like all the traits are from the American Bulldog, this and that, blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? It's
No,
not a,
I'm not giving them 100% credit, but what I am saying is this, right? If we're speaking on breeding, right, like hanging papers or any of that such thing, right? On so many levels, like if Duro run his dog and his dog, he bought his dog as an American bully. And if he don't tell them nothing, and he send his papers off and he send his swab off, and they come back American Bully, and then this guy over here in the country, he running American Pit Bull Terrier, nothing but it, and he sent his paper off, and nothing has ever been. He didn't write nothing down. He didn't get him no indication that he had a pit bull, and then over here they're telling him that he got American Pit Bull Terrier, and then over here these people they really have a golden doodle, and they send they swab off, and they tell them that you have a golden doodle. Like so what at what point do we discredit DNA because that's the same type of DNA that we use
well,
as
I wouldn't
humans,
say,
and
I
I get
wouldn't,
what you're saying with markers and everything, but we have to credit them for something.
I would discount it completely. I'm just saying that it's not an exact science. It's not like I've
Got you,
done,
got you, got you. Okay,
I've
okay, I get
done,
what you're saying.
I've done three, I've done three of these Brazilian dogs, embarked them. And I mean, they kind of, the mix that they say they are is kind of correct. I haven't like you said, I haven't got a golden doodle in there, but I know the pedigrees on the dogs, and they didn't. It's not accurate 100%. Not 100%. It's pretty much like my puppy Flex. I just sent his in, and I forget exact, but it was like 70% pit bull, 30% or 29% American bulldog, which kind of makes sense, but it doesn't because uh, his father is in Brazil and he's line bred on this dog, Bearzilla. And of course, there's controversy on what's Bearzilla and all this stuff. But you got to understand there's a lot of politics and a lot of pride and ego that causes people to spread rumors and stuff.
Hmm.
And his mother does have like on her pedigree, it shows like I think she's a quarter, so he would be 1/8 American Bulldog. But I know that American Bulldog pedigree, and I know I can see there's Old English Bulldog, recent Old English Bulldog crossed in. And
Gotcha.
the pit bull, people say pit bull, but the pit bull used to make a Brazilian bull, it's not a pit bull. It's they're different, but they're like UKC pit bull or a red nosed pit bull. That somewhere somehow somebody put something else in there
A,
because
a bigger pit bull.
yeah, like
Yeah.
a lot of the dogs in the Brazilian bulls, they come off of these two dogs that were brought from the United States. One was Viet Shark's Little Steroid, and another one is Gargoyle's Little Red Princess. And those dogs are like, I call them bastardized Camelot hits. If you go back to the Camelot blood, there's like two dogs. One was called Chief and one was called Duke. And they were like 110-pound dogs. And you're just not going to get that in a pit bull, not
Yeah.
consistent.
Yeah. That's big for sure.
So, what is a Viet Shark? What is Viet Shark? There is no
And
way.
yeah, I know what you're talking about too, because they got
There's,
some big dogs. They producing 190-pound dogs right now to
yeah.
this day.
So,
I'm like, what the hell is that? Like, you
if
know.
anybody's ever dealt with a band dog program or somebody that's really trying to produce a big dog, it's tough. It's tough. Even if you don't use much pit bull, if you're just breeding English Mastiff, as soon as you outcross some jokers, they want to go back to a normal sized dog. For you to get 170 pounds, there's more than just one shot of something big. So, but none of that comes through. It's in there, but none of it comes through. So it's just not. This is where I came to my conclusion. I read an article that had a clinical, it was a scientific clinical trial on this in humans, not on dogs, and uh, it was funded because of all these lawsuits. Early on, a lot of African Americans were spending money with these companies because they wanted to know their breakdown, what parts of Africa they were from, and they do sometimes two or three different companies, and they'd come up with three or four totally different results. So they were like, "Man, this is a ripoff. What the hell are you talking about?" And so
Hmm.
they did a clinical trial, and I don't know how they did it, but they said that it was about 60 to 70% accurate. So I imagine with dogs, it's probably no different. Actually, matter of fact, I think dogs have more chromosomes. There's more combinations, so it might not be different. So all I'm saying is, I mean, I think it's accurate. I know it's accurate from my dogs. For my American Bulldogs, I get 100% American Bulldog. Blah blah blah. But the thing that scares me is a lot of these young guys. They're like embark. Oh, I did an embark, so my dog's perfect. My dog's everything. And they're like, oh no, my dog's 100% pure. It's pure. But what is pure? What the fuck is pure? I mean, if I have an American Bulldog that if a car backfires, it pisses itself and runs underneath the porch, or I take it on a hog hunt and it overheats in the first 5 minutes and dies and it can't catch a hog, is it 100%? Is it 100% American Bulldog or is it 100% bullshit?
Right,
or
no, and I get that. Right, no, like even if you DNA test it, like you can DNA test it bad from the best breeder, bad
yeah,
from yeah,
the,
reputable, yeah. But if
the,
it dies in 5 minutes, yeah, or overheats, then like with it, yeah, no, you got a good point there for sure.
I'd rather have a 3/4 American Bulldog, 1/4 Chihuahua that can do. It lives up to the breed type, the history of the breed. It can do anything and everything that the history says it should. To me, that's more pure than the one that's got the pedigree. I use Embark, and I never I used to always figure my coefficient of inbreeding off of this database I used to use. They figure it. There's different ways to calculate it. I used to use what they call the right method. So I know what the numbers are for like an inbred dog, and I have a I have a dog. You talk about full brother, full sister. I never thought about doing that. I never thought it would. I didn't understand what it would do. What because it's really truly not as inbred as a father to daughter. But I had a female, and I raised her with her brother, and she was probably 10, 11 months old, 12 months old, and they were ripped some rail off uh, one of the posts on my deck, and I didn't realize that there was a big screw sticking out, and she must have stuck her head in there, and then somebody came and smacked her, and it cut a big chunk out of her neck, like a U-shaped piece of fur, and I was freaked out. So I'm like, shaved it all down. I'm cleaning it, putting stuff in it. So I guess I wasn't paying attention to whether she was in heat. Well, she was in heat, and I figured it out, I thought, oh shit, I had her with her brother. I had to get her away. Well, he bred her, and we had a litter, and I kept this male Gus that I have. I just sent his embark in, and he's clear on everything, and blah, blah everything's great. And 100% American Bulldog, all that crap. But uh, you know how they figure the coefficient of inbreeding, but the
Hmm.
number is different, and he's the highest I've gotten so far that I've tested. Uh, and he came back 33, I think, 33. So like 28 or 25 with way right, the right calculation is like father daughter or uncle niece or something like that. 75%, inbred. But I don't know. 33 is higher than my other ones, but I don't know. I just don't know how it equates to it. But we'll see. I have a couple. I have a well, I have a dog I'm going to test. I'm retesting a lot of my dogs for this HUU stuff. We never had that. We never it. I guess they just discovered it in the last 5 or 10 years. I never thought it was anything either until about 4 years ago. I had somebody call me. They had gotten a dog, not from me, from somebody else, but one of the grandparents was a dog I produced, and they're like, I'm at the vet, and they say that my dog he's so sick, he's got all these uh, kidney stones. He's got so many in there that it needs surgery, and they're telling me it's $10,000. And I'm like, wow, $10,000, holy crap! And I'm like, is he going to be okay when he's done? And I guess that's the extreme HUU, that kidney stone thing. So ever since then, I've never had it with my dogs, but now I'm like, I'm clear on everything so far. So I don't even need to start testing some of my dogs anymore because they're clear.
Yeah, but you mentioned like your family in algebra, right?
Oh, my family,
Yeah, in algebra. When you were
algebra.
speaking earlier, yeah, you said
Oh,
something about
oh,
algebra earlier.
I was talking about the Moors, the North African Moors. They went
Yeah,
to Europe,
yeah, and so
educated.
you're right though. Embark ain't like 100% on everything, right? But if you equate algebra, because like when I was in school, I used to, what the hell I'm gonna need algebra for? Like, but if I'm not gonna break it all down because this ain't an interview about me, but if you equate algebra into embark and breeding and do the math on that and research and study that, then you can find a lot of resourceful information out of embark by breeding.
Oh yeah, I think it's a good tool. That's why I do it. But I mean, especially the genetic tests and stuff. But when it comes to the breed, profile, I'm not sure it's
A
a hundred.
hundred percent.
Yeah, I know it's not
I,
100%.
I back you on that for sure.
But you,
I back
if you ask Embark, they, I don't know, they must tell their employees, don't talk about it. Don't say anything.
you
But well, I see it. The thing reason why I think it's a big deal is because in the breed, in American Bulldogs, there's a lot of guys that are like, hey man, it's $160 to get the Embark. That's cheap. I'm going to do all my dogs. And then all of a sudden, it's a source of, they think it's a legitimate source that their dog, my dog's 100% American Bulldog. Like that is a breed suitability test. And it's, if that's what you're using to justify your breedings,
Yeah,
then you're,
if that's your sales pitch.
yeah, you don't understand what you're doing. You know,
Yeah.
I hate to see what's the breed going to look like because I can show you Embark results I've seen online. There was a guy that posted this. My dog came back 100% American Bulldog, and he showed a picture of it. It had long hair, and it looked like it had like a Brittany Spaniel in it or something. It was chocolate. It had like fluffy ears and a fluffy tail, and they said that's 100%. Which it could be. Maybe that gene traveled along. For a long.
The lineage of the dog. Yeah.
Yeah, it came back. But that's a tough thing to do because I believe to get long hair, you got to have it on both sides. It's a recessive thing. So if you breed a dog with short hair to a dog with long hair, the first cross you could get in betweens and you could get some of the other. But after that, I think the dogs to get a long haired dog, you got to have it on both sides. So it's just a false. What if that guy's like, my dog's 100%? It's much better than your dog. You know, that's what I've seen over the years. When he asked me what's the most overrated bloodline, I said the Johnson bloodline, and it's because for like 25 years I've watched people. They're like, oh, this guy's the founder of the breed, and he's this and he's that. So anything they buy that's 100% Johnson immediately 100% is
It's
breedable.
better than yours. Yeah.
Yeah. And what happened with Johnson was he bred all those dogs in there. He bred the English Bulldog in. Well, he's from Georgia. He was from Georgia, and he's an old guy. Like the dogs whelp puppies outside. They never came in the house. They were raised kind of rustic, and uh, all those English Bulldog crosses that he had, they died. They may have done one breeding or two breedings, and that kind of turned into his whole yard. Like if you look at pedigrees, you'll see a stud. You'll rarely ever see a stud that's produced more than 2 litters or 3 litters. A lot of them are just one hit wonders. They breed one litter, and then by the time they fully mature, they die of heat stroke.
Yeah.
So
And that's what happened to the ones that made it down here to Ohio too.
yeah, so I get people. I bred for a long time. I probably have 13 to 15 generations in some of my dogs, and I've inbred and I've done a lot of different stuff. And these 100% Johnson people produce these dogs, and it's like you could get anything from like a Great Dane Hound to an English Bulldog with long legs, and it's like, how the hell can this bloodline be pure for so many generations, more than anybody else? And the consistency sucks. They're not consistent. It's crazy. Some of them look like big hounds. Some of them look like, St. Bernard English Bulldog crosses, and some of them look great. So it's like something screwy. The only thing I know why it is because a lot of the people that buy those dogs are not dog people. They're just like, oh, my dog's breedable. Why is it breedable? Because it came from John D. Johnson's 100% from his bloodline. Well, he's
Yeah,
been dead.
and it was DNA tested. I get that.
Yeah, some of them DNA test them. For a while there, you had guys that went by, and I was kind of like that, went by pen hip. Oh, my dog's got the top 10% pen hip, which I think is good. It's cool. That's a good thing. But it's not everything. If the dog's got a shitty temperament, the dog can't breathe. If he can't breathe, you can't take him for a walk when it's 75, 80 degrees outside because he might heat stroke. I don't care what it says. I don't care if it says he's 100% got golden semen or something. He's a piece of shit. He's going to die. He can't live up to the breed, you know.
Yeah.
And that's what I kind of, the older I get, the more I realize I don't know shit. You don't know. There's so many things. It's like the genetics is like 15 roulette wheels spinning at the same time where they stop. If you're line breeding and inbreeding, you can cut that down, but there's still a lot of things that go into it. And I've just seen the breed in some ways just go to, they're just a turd circling the drain. And it's always the dog that people are like, oh man, he's the greatest. He's the best I've ever seen. It's like, yeah. Then I see him at a show and it's like, hey man, you better get him to a water spigot quick because he's going to fall over dead. So
yeah, talk about it.
yeah, but the thing is, people make excuses for all that stuff. And these Brazilian dogs, I've heard, I haven't seen entropia in my dogs, but some of these dogs have that entropia, and it's like, oh shit, I don't want to breed that. And I've had people say, oh, it's not a big deal. It's just a surgery. Like, yeah, but surgery is not going to change the genetics. And if you don't get the surgery, and the surgery it's not a panacea. It doesn't always work. So
Right. It's like if we talking one dog, yeah, you
yeah,
get the surgery, but overall, for the majority of the breed, yes, it ain't gonna work.
yeah, it's going to keep popping up, and you're going to have trouble. And that's one thing I have done with my dogs is if a bitch needs a C-section, this is the last C-section she'll ever have. She gets spayed too, and then she'll find her a home. If she's a shitty mother, that's it. I never breed her again. I used to feed raw and do all this special stuff. And then it just got to be too much. And I ran into an old guy that I knew that used to breed game dogs. And, he's old. He was real old. He was like 79 years old the last time I talked to him. And he's like, you know what? My dogs can't live on kibble, regular kibble. And maybe they don't need to live. Maybe they don't need to be bred. And I thought to myself, you know what? He's right. The more we cater, pamper, and have to do special stuff, the weaker the dogs are. So my dogs now they live outside, they don't overheat. I take care of them. They all have water. I live in the woods, so there's a lot of shade. But you know how bulldogs can be. Something happens, some weird dog comes on my property. They're not just going to say, oh, I'm hot, I'm going to go sit down under the tree. They flip out. They don't want to, they don't want a strange dog on their property, but they have a big enough lung capacity and a huge trachea and big nostrils. And they can take in enough air to keep themselves cool. So,
Yeah.
which is the way the history of the breed reads, these are Southern catch dogs. And when I started complaining about this breathing and how we need to all work together and we need to change this, not just, and I always had people that say, hey man, nobody uses these dogs for hog hunting anymore. We don't need that. Yeah, but wouldn't you like a healthy dog? Wouldn't you like a dog that doesn't suffer, is going to suffer a horrible death from overheating? It's crazy.
Absolutely.
It's like being a 200-pound guy and somebody took and sealed up your nose and your mouth and you had to breathe through a straw and they make you to work. And, or you're just stupid. You're hyper and you're jumping around like crazy. That's what it's like.
That's 100%.
Yeah, and it's crazy because like I just seen a video and the dog was overheat and they had it in the vet. They had it at the vet and there was like 5 or 6 people literally like trying to calm this dog down, man. I don't know if they had like on the story where they found the dog or whatever, but they was trying to calm the dog down and they was doing everything they could, man. Like, and it even resulted to like them like putting an ice bag on the dog. And then you read somewhere else and it tell you like don't calm a dog down with ice or like, you know what I mean, extremely cold water or whatever. But Like you see these people and the dog is in the vet and they calming the dog down with like ice. And it was like, you
I've
know,
dealt with it because when I started in the breed, they breed like shit. Not all of them, but it was lethal. Like I said, the dogs are 25% that one English bulldog, some maybe more. You know, who knows what people put in. People crossed oldie and English and whatever to make them bullier, you know, secretly. You know, I don't know of all the crosses, but so we had trouble. I mean, I had that dog. I said he was my best stud. Probably he was my best stud because he wasn't any great shakes. He was a cool little dog. You know, he was muscular and bully and all that crap, but he just always produced better than himself. And no matter what he was bred to, he pulled out a good litter and pretty noteworthy dogs. That's what made him good. But he wasn't a perfect dog himself. And at that point,
hmm
I hadn't fixed the breathing, and he had the breathing issues. You know, and he lived in my house when it was really hot. He was too valuable to me to take a risk of him overheating. So in that sense, he sucked. He wasn't good, but the whole breed was like that. I couldn't. There was nowhere for me to
not
go.
for
It's
real.
the standard side, and so uh, now I've changed everything. Matter of fact, when I first started complaining about it, people would be like, "Yeah, well, you're just a show dog breeder. You don't breed for anything," and blah blah blah. I'm like, no, the dogs. I mean, you don't base the breed on me being a shitty breeder. You know, you're supposed to strive
Yeah,
for better.
I mean, so my dude, right? He was breeding. He had like it was a micro, and so he like, man, bro, take a ride with me. I'm about to breed this dog real quick. He had a badass dog. She was bad, but long story short, he spent some money on the breeding and everything, like. But he like, take a ride with me, bro. I'm about to breed this dog. So he's showing me the dog that he about to breed to. The dog was real thick. I mean, extremely bulldog, like you know what I mean. All the meat you can want on a dog. So like, I'm looking at it. I'm not about to give him my opinion at the time. I'm just like, all right, I'll take a ride with you. We pull up, and like he got his dog out. He done had the dog, you know what I mean. Before we even went, she was in the front yard ripping and running. Like, long story short, she didn't exert or overheat really, and I noticed that. So when we pull up to the breeding, he like he paid dude, he get a dude the money or whatever, and like you know what I mean, in which it was a couple thousand, like for the stud fee or whatever. But I'm at my business, but he get dude the money or whatever, like, and I'm looking for the stud. Dude go to the car and grab the stud out the car. He like bring the dog up. The dog is already overheating, but the dog been sitting in the car in the air conditioner the whole time. Dog couldn't even afford to even be outside for the presentation. Like he couldn't even the dog couldn't even be presented at the time when we pulled up because it was bred with so much English bulldog. It had heavy breathing problems. But again, I
Oh
still
yeah.
ain't say nothing. I still ain't say nothing. I'm just like watching the whole thing because I see his vision. He done explained his vision to me upon the drive, and it's not my dogs. We're not breeding partners, kennel partners, none of that. So I'm just riding with you, bro. Cool. But he ended up breeding a dog. But long story short, they produced about nine of them or whatever. But all of them come out with some type of complications. Like you know, he don't think they got complications or whatever the case may be, and whatever them is what he produced. That's what he like. I never gave him my opinion, but speaking, upon the dog was heavy bred with English Bulldog. Like the dog had to be stuck in the car until the breeding happened, and then they pulled the dog. The dog couldn't even do it on its own. You know what I mean? So they pulled the
Oh
dog,
yeah.
ate at it, and did the whole thing or whatever. Like, and it did produce, and it produced. They used the dog a couple other times. Then they pushed it to the back out the wild because they was using it for the bone of the dog. Not really for the structure, but of the bone because it gave you that short English bulldog that the meat that them dogs carry. So, but
And
I
those
was like,
micros, those exotics. They have Frenchie and English. I think they even have. Somebody told me they put pug and Pekingese in there.
I
America's
can
really
believe it. Yeah, no, I can believe that though. I can believe that because of the breathing. You know, pugs
yeah.
breathe like that too. Like that is a trait.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
pugs breathe like that.
Everything's smashed up. Smashed into a small little area where it should be open, dogs don't sweat, so they got to perspire through their mouth. And if they can't bring air in to cool themselves, then they're screwed. If you're a 20 or 15-pound pug, it's bad enough. But if you're an 80-pound bulldog, forget it. It's even worse, you know.
Yeah.
But American bullies are interesting. I've always paid attention, and I try to keep an open mind because it's, I don't know what the hell they did. It's kind of like the Wild Wild West, and but it's kind of interesting. The creativity. I don't want some of them dogs. I don't want to deal with that stuff. I just went to the ABKC Nationals last December in Savannah, and
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I went to another show before that, like not too far from here, because my partner at Samba, she was telling me, "Oh, we're going to be at this show. It's not too far from me." So I went there because I wanted to see her dog Shake, who's the father of two of my females. And
Mm-hmm.
I go to the show. So I hadn't been to an American Bully show for years, but years and 10, 15 years when the breed was kind of new. I went when it just got the name, and they had pockets. I went to the show and I saw a lot of dogs. I saw some weird shit, but the last show I went to, the last two shows, the Nationals, I was like, what the hell happened? A lot of the dogs, like you can see, they changed. They've taken a lot stronger traits from the English. Like
Mm-hmm.
some
Yeah.
of the dogs, like, well, I said something online and I'm probably like, oh shit, a lot of people are not, don't, they're probably upset that I even said it. But I just wanted to know, like the dog that won the whole thing, I'm not kidding. He had the proportion of a basset hound. Like his legs were that short and his body was that long. And I'm like, this dog won best in show, the whole show. And I was there, man. I saw there was a lot of good dogs there. And they gave it
Yeah.
to a dog. I thought he was a pocket, but he turns out he wasn't a pocket. He was not an XL, what I forget,
It was a
classic or what,
standard.
Extreme.
standard.
Extreme. Standard. Right. Standard.
Maybe, I don't know which classic is like a regular pit bull, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Like a
And then
standard. Yeah.
so he was one of those. And I'm sure those people loved him. He looked like a basset hound, looked like a big dog that somebody chopped all of his legs off. And I saw that a lot. A lot of those dogs have like a rolling gait.
Yeah. No. No. That's what's going on though. Like that. Yeah. Like it's.
There
I
was a
mean, it's to each his own with the bullies, man. Like and I ain't just saying this because Duro is on here or whatever, but like the wave that like he's trying to push, the you know what I mean, like the bigger real bullies, the actual family dogs, the dogs that don't just stand there and just you know what I mean, just of course I get the stacking and all of that and everything, but like you said, once they shrink them down to like you got pretty much like a cow just sitting there with short legs, like
back in the day, the best pockets. I could
I think
see,
the pro.
I could see like Staffy Bull in them, and I love Staffy Bulls. I've had a bunch of them. They were more
Yep.
square, tighter, more athletic.
Yep.
I thought that to
Mm-hmm.
myself, but I didn't say anything. And then a couple month or two ago, I was listening to this
Mm-hmm.
podcast, Tuesday Bully Talk, and they had a guy that I remember from the old days. I think his name's Suarez. He had a pocket called Paco or Paco, yeah, Paco, I think it was. And he was like that, shorter backed. And I wasn't paying real close attention. I just had it in my ears when I was working. And he said the same thing. He said, "Yeah, we probably need an outcross because the breed's drifted too much towards bulldog." And I thought, "Oh my God, that's exactly what I thought." The XLs, I don't think have, at
Yeah.
least not the ones I've
I
seen.
mean,
But the
go
little
no.
ahead,
pocket,
Go ahead, Duro.
I mean, when you look at the breathing, right? When you think about the breathing of the American bully, like that, I say this all the time. Like my dogs don't have that, right? That I don't like that. I feel like that's a flaw, right? Because the dog can't breathe. Because some of the dogs, they just automatically have that. They're not even running or walking, right? And those are the dogs I'm really talking about. Like they just in the heat or they just out in the yard, they just running, they just walking, or whatever the case. You know what I mean? I wouldn't want to continue to put product out like that and forget about the like I tell people because I'm I'm in the vet field, so the deep have so when you just thinking about shrinking a dog down and it just got more body and more chest and that dog can't breathe.
Yeah,
So
he's got more meat to cool.
only
And
doing
the
it for a
culture
look,
knows him.
right?
But I don't think American bullies across
Right.
the
So
board are
he
as
can't.
bad.
He can't. Mm-hmm. Go
I
ahead.
don't think I think that they were saved for many, many years of having the problem because I mean, I don't know any of this for a fact, and maybe it's taboo to say, say this, but uh, well, the American bully
Mm-hmm.
for years was just a secret outcross bred to a secret outcross. You didn't really know what it was. You used to laugh at people that said, "Oh, they're
What
just
was what they were
Amstaffs.
doing? Yeah.
Yeah, we just selected for this." And like bullshit. You bred Amstaffs in two generations that are
Mm-hmm.
I
100 pounds.
mean, there's no way you can get all that muscle without a staffy, bro. And there's no way you can get the mass without an English bulldog. There's
Yeah,
no way you can get the drive without a pit bull.
yeah. I think they started out really good. I
I
think
agree.
when I was
I mean,
younger.
because
They
like,
did.
and I say that because like I don't really, what I mean, I don't really promote the American bully because that's not really my thing. But I have one. I may have two, may have three. But however, I got one that I know for sure, man. This dog got more drive than anything I ever seen in my life, man. Anything I ever seen in my life. I don't care what brand or what genetic makeup, a pit bull or any type of dog, man, a dogo or any of that, man. Like I got an American bully. I mean, his drive is it's unexplainable. Just unexplainable. He don't have an off switch at all. You can't teach him an off switch. He don't have one. Like soon as you let him out, he just want to work. That's all he want to do. He's highly disappointed when ain't nothing to do. Like just to like find out that you just let him out to use the bathroom is very disappointing to him.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm serious though, but I don't promote it though. But like he got more like nobody like a lot of people wouldn't even know what to do with this type of dog.
Oh yeah. From
And
what I see, they're like they don't want that. They don't want the
you
drive. They want it
yeah,
easy.
no, it's way too much dog for some people. Way too much dog. Like I mean, it's like I
But
said,
like
he don't
even
have an off switch.
but even like with the AK with the
Go ahead, bro.
ABKC, it's like it's like they taking away the drive or the working American bully. It's more so like the phenotype of the dog is just like more it's more bigger. Like it's more like it's more bully. Like so they call
Yeah,
it.
but he
But then you
but
see these dogs
he come
that's
from that though.
winning. No, that's
The
not the point I'm making
ABKC.
though. Hear me out.
Okay, my bad. Go ahead.
So what I'm saying is it's like this. Like I get what you're saying, and you're absolutely right. But what I'm saying is that the a champion just died. Like you know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
he was
ABKC champion just died. Like
he was
they
having
said
a
he was going for
palate surgery.
surgery
Yeah.
or something like that.
Yeah, that's the freaking English bulldog. they it makes cool dogs for the first couple generations.
Yeah.
I understand the look. I understand the bone and the thickness and the shorter head, the shorter muzzle, the bullier look. But you gotta draw a line somewhere. You're going over
Hmm.
the edge.
So like he
I'm
had complications and he died.
Yeah, if they can't they get a throat tube in a dog to
Yeah.
do
So they
surgery,
said.
and if it chokes him off, even worse, he'll die.
Hmm.
I had a guy many years ago.
Yep.
He had a dog, and he was calling me and asking. He said, "Have you ever had this surgery done?" I said, "No, never." And he said, "Man, I have a dog," and the guy said it's not a good candidate for that. And I said, "Oh, really?" He goes, "Yeah." He said that the dog breathes so bad he has a lot of scar tissue on his lungs. And I said, "Well, what causes scar tissue on the lungs?" You know,
Mm-hmm.
and he said belated breathing from so much trying to suck in enough air. I guess it scars the lungs. So people just don't realize, I see
Yeah,
people that have a dog that snorts like that, and they don't think anything of it. They're like, "Oh, it's a bulldog, just the way it is." And
and
I
that's the
understand.
problem. And so I'm glad that you said that though too, Vito, because the thing about it is that humans get scar tissue on their lungs. You know what I'm saying? Just from bad breathing, like asthma, COPD, that causes scar tissue on the lungs, right? So when you think about, well, what causes scar tissue on a dog's lung, right? As well. And that's what I try to tell people all the time. Most of the things that us humans can get, dogs can get. And then how do you treat that? So I didn't see asthmatic cats, asthmatic dogs has come into the vet, right, to be treated, to need albuterol treatment.
Oh,
And so it's the same thing. So why continue to breed that way when you have the when you go back and you look at the razor edge American bullies, I mean, those bullies were just more like American pit bulls on steroids. Like, you know what I'm saying? But they
thicker.
lived long.
Yeah, I thought
You
they
know
were
what I mean?
cool.
They were really cool and they lived long. You had them for a long time. Like they wasn't dying like these dogs are dying now.
Yeah, there was always, like in the 80s, there was a movement to breed what we called bullier pits. There were the
Mhm.
UKC pit show dogs. I remember there was a lady, I don't know if you guys, I don't know how old you guys are, but there was a lady out in California called Gaffs, Pam Carter. Man, she had some freaking awesome looking dogs. They were like 90 pounds and they were thick, but they weren't this far off from,
They was athletic.
yeah,
They jump up in her car. She ride with them. I know
yeah.
exactly who you talking. Yeah, I know. I'm
And
familiar.
I do believe maybe I don't think those probably were just a recent cross of something. I think it was like generations of people breeding for mass and muscle and whatever. But
Staff,
yeah,
staff, a lot of staff in them.
and you can get it. Like pit bulls are
Yeah.
weird. Right? There's some of the early imports were big dogs, 75 to 100-pound dogs, 90-pound dogs.
Mhm.
That dog Kager
Mhm.
and Pincer, they were bigger dogs. They were larger size. They say that the dogs that came from England were a little bigger than the Irish staffs or bulldogs. So
Mhm.
I mean, anything's
In my opinion, I think the better bullies are the ones where like they cross they cross them from America to UK and like those type of like breeds, man.
I feel sorry. Like I was at that ABKC show and it was pretty interesting, first class operation. But I felt bad because there were some
Mhm.
really nice freaking dogs, man, and they didn't win nothing. And then the dog that won, I'm like, whoa, what the? It had the
Yeah.
proportions of a basset hound. It was a big dog with no leg, not short legs, no
Mhm.
leg. And I'm like,
Right, right. A big old wiener dog.
yeah. I mean, he was probably a big dog. He's probably 90-pound dog, thick head, beautiful head. He just looked like somebody chopped off his legs.
No, and I get that, but so like this would be it could be a whole nother topic somewhere, and I don't want to stay on it too long, but just to like I take for Presa Canario for instance, right? I do not like the rear end of a Presa Canario. Like when you talk about like let's just say show dog, like you know what I mean? Like the Presa Canario got a higher rear end than it does it fronts. Like but people love that dog, you know what I mean? And like I understand the purpose of that dog. I respect that dog. I wouldn't play with it or none of that. Like you know what I mean? Like somewhere down the line, I probably would breed to it, not directly because it's not in my program. It's not in my goal. It's not in my vision to breed with a Presso. But that dog per se, I don't like the rear end of the dog because when you speak of structure, a dog with a higher rear end, then we know everything else they carry. But that dog carry a trait of a higher rear end, and people love to breed the Pressos, and it's like they've been breeding it to them, for centuries. And the dog
Well,
rear end is
I know
higher
what you're
than the.
saying too. I know what you're saying too because the movement on the presser is not also like is not 100. Like if you look at the back legs, like when you watch a presser walk and you see the back legs, and you be
I mean,
like,
it's
okay, well
almost like
that's
it's almost like a fat. It's almost like a fat person that could tumble. Like hell yeah, boy. Like we can see you. You still got it. You talented in the motherfucker, but boy, you sloppy. You know what I
right,
mean? Like
right,
and they ain't to discredit like fatter people or bigger people or none of that because to each his own. But once you cross 100 and something pounds, with certain structure, how long can you last? How long can a fight? And I'm not talking dog fighting, but I'm saying even if we was talking,
hogs
something
or
of its size, right?
hmm
Like, not just like hog hunting to where like you hog hunting, but then the hog is the size of your dog, but then you and your partners are stabbing the hog, like y'all stab. You know what I mean? Like, of course, the dog bit the hog for a couple seconds, but as soon as you got there, your partner stretched his back legs out, and then you stabbed it 2 times, and you know what I mean? Like y'all jumped the hog. The dog didn't really, take the hog down and kill the hog. The dog didn't get
right.
the hog by the throat and take the hog down, and you stood back and recorded the whole 37 minutes of the hog being by the dog. So
Hmm.
I I started getting to the point like 14 years ago, I guess, that I'd started placing dogs with hog hunters to prove my dogs. Here in Missouri, in southern Missouri, there's a big, huge forest called Mark Twain Forest. I think it's like 1 million acres. And they had a lot of problem with wild hogs there. And the hogs that we have here in southern Missouri, they have a high percentage of the Russian boar because there was a trophy hunting outfit out here by Fort Leonard Wood. A guy years ago had like a canned hunt. He'd raise pure Russian boar. He'd raise them, get it
hmm
big, and then you pay thousands of dollars to kill it and make a trophy out of it. Well, that guy went out of business and supposedly just let his hogs loose. So there's a huge population, or there was a huge population here. And so we have quite a few in Oklahoma, uh, Texas, and Missouri and Arkansas, a lot of hog hunters. And so I started placing dogs with them to prove my dogs. So I learned a whole lot about hog hunting. And actually, what makes a good hog dog, catch dog, there's not really any dogs that are going to grab even 150-pound wild boar and kill it. They've killed small hogs before. I've heard of big dogs crushing their skull or something like that, but they're pretty tough and they're pretty dangerous. Like even if they don't have big tusks that have these little sharp teeth, these little mini tusks, and they can sharpen them like a razor. And as soon as they get up underneath your dog, they root up. They can slash his guts out. Like that. That's a dangerous freaking animal. But the bulldog's job is to run in with zero hesitation, zero back down, not a second of hesitation, and grab a mouthful of either the jowl or the ear, and then hold on. Then a good hog dog becomes a boat anchor. A
and
really
absolutely, I don't want to cut you off, but when we talking a catch dog, and again, I don't want to make it about a Presa Canario, but I was talking like speaking of a bigger dog,
yeah,
and
press up.
the weight of a bigger dog to match the weight of it. I mean, because like to kind of change it, right, a little bit. Even a juvenile pig to a presser being 100 at 130 pounds is still not gonna run in and just kill that hog.
No, but the Presa was different. The Presa is more of a butcher's dog. So for thousands of years, the butcher had to catch a certain kind of catch dog. He's the biggest, heaviest. He doesn't have to run very far because he'll be in the wagon. You go out in the field, you get one or two of these dogs. If you need a bay dog to keep the hog from running, you run in and they'll grab it and then they cut it up and kill it right there and dress it, throw it in the wagon, and they go to medieval village and sell the meat. And people either smoke it, eat it that night because there's no refrigeration. So for thousands of years, we had those butcher dogs, the butcher type dogs, and they're bigger, heavier dogs. Pressa, the word pressa means gripping dog. So they're just
Okay.
bred to grip and
And
hold.
I just like clarity. You know what I mean? Maybe I ask questions,
Yeah,
to bring clarity upon things, but because I know
yeah,
that people are listening and it's a universal conversation, a lot of
yes.
things I'm asking the way that I'm asking because it's not about me. It's just so that people can understand exactly what we're talking about and on two different perspectives. You know what I mean? So and a lot of people, they breed heavier dogs, but don't they forget that like the heavier you get, like you said, you're gonna end up with a butcher dog. You're not gonna end up with a real working dog, or you know, a
Oh, yeah.
Belgian Malinois, for instance. The structure and the lenience of the dog, and the drive of the dog, the passion of the dog, the weight of the dog, the distance that the dog is willing to go. The heavier you get, you're gonna lose out on all those traits.
Oh, yeah. There's all kinds of different catch type dogs. Matter of fact, you know, it's history is really cool because you don't realize these dogs haven't been around for like 100, 200, 500, 1,000. They've been around for thousands of years. And they've traced most of the big working type Mastiff and Bulldog type dogs go back to a breed called an Elant. And they're dogs that were from these nomadic tribes in North Africa. They were called the Lanis.
Hmm.
The Alani people were kind of like, what are those Greeks? The Spartans, kind of like a Spartan in a way. They're nomadic, so they move and they'd have their livestock, their goats, and they had these horses that were war horses. They were heavier. They were the best cavalrymen. Back then, there weren't a lot of horses, I guess, and these horses were bred for war, for fighting. And the dogs they had, these Alants, were also bred for doing all kinds of stuff. They were bred to catch, they were bred to be livestock guarding dogs, and they were bred to be a war dog. So that means you're on a horseback, you're shooting arrows or wielding a sword, and your horse can't spook and run. And you may be surrounded by a bunch of, warriors, and you're slicing their heads off or whatever you're doing. They're trying to stab your dog or your horse or whatever to try
Right.
to.
Yeah. I
And
get
these
that.
dogs, like you cut a guy and he's not dead. That dog was trained to finish the job. Christopher Columbus. This is all documented, and there's artwork that shows it.
It's good. It's a guy. It's a guy. He's starting a lot program now, and I follow him. And I didn't understand the Alant program as to
Yeah,
why he named it that until you just specified what Alant was.
yeah. Well, my point, I always get sidetracked. My point was there was at one time they defined it wasn't a breed like we think of a breed now. It was a type of dog. They varied. So they had these different types that specialized in different type of work. They had one that looked like a thicker boned greyhound, and those were running catch dogs. So if they had a certain type of wild boar or certain type of game, that they don't stop and fight, they run. So if you're going after a stag, a deer, they're not going to stop and fight a bulldog. They're going to run, and if they can run, they can get away from your dog, and you don't catch it. So these greyhound, big old doggo looking greyhound dogs would run, two or three of them, and they'd catch that sucker, and then you'd catch up with your spear and kill it. Or then they had a
No,
dog that was
that's what he
intermediate.
has too, man. Like for real, that's literally what the guy has, man.
Yeah,
They're
I
tall, they
there's
gray, they skinny, they linky. I'm like, what are these? What type of alarm program are you running? But it's interesting, but it's exactly what you explained it.
yeah, like in Ireland and England, they have a lot program, and they breed. I think they breed the more greyhoundy ones, but they're big. They use bull mastiff, greyhound, and bull terrier, and
I
I
was just about to say, and definitely some terrier for sure.
yeah, and so they had those three. They had like three types they defined, and they wrote it.
Cannon Bulldogs to be. I was trying to think of his name without looking through my phone or
Oh
whatever.
yeah,
But
he has all of these.
Cannon Bulldogs. Yeah, he got the one Bulldogs, but he's trying to push them to the side and run that Alant program. And I've just been noticing every time he speak or I'm like, what is a Alant? Like, what is a Alant dog? Like,
I think those are cool. I think it's a cool idea. I would if I always think if I was young and I had time and money to do all this stuff, I would love to have because I love game dogs, and I
hmm
really if you ever seen a sighthound run, do their thing. Like out here, some of these hog hunter friends of mine, they hunt coyotes, and they get these
yeah,
freaking coyote dogs that are like greyhound, bred Irish wolfhound or whatever. They have a breed I never even knew what it was till like 10 years ago. They call them July hounds. They're like a foxhound. They're an old breed in the United States, but they're not like a mainstream breed. They're a hunting breed. They're like greyhound, foxhound, and these son of guns like they do these hunts and they may cover your dog might get away from you and you might not get it for another fucking 3 days and it never stopped running. They're like
for
amazing.
real.
Yeah, they're like amazing. They paint these like with shoe polish. They
What's the name of it again? Say the name again.
July hounds, and they have
July
different
Hounds.
names. Yeah, they have different names for them too. But this guy was at a tire store and he mentioned July Hound, and I'm like, what are you talking about? I know every breed of dog there is. I've never heard of such a thing. And so he
Yeah.
started explaining what they were, and then I got home and got on the internet and started looking them up. Like, oh my god, that's so weird. They're not really impressive looking dogs. They're skinny looking, kind of. They look like a foxhound bred to a greyhound. But I just think it would be cool. It's for somebody who's young and got the energy to do it. But all these game dogs that I love are they're going away. Everybody that messes with those is going to get arrested or whatever. They
Hey,
don't fit. They don't fit into society. Especially the way things are going nowadays. People,
Duro. He said they going to jail,
Yo.
man.
yeah, and
Hey
then the
man,
other thing is all these Greyhound racing tracks they closed them because these humaniacs say it's cruel. So I was like, man, could you imagine taking like a big type dog as a base, but then just line breeding those game bred dogs and those greyhounds? Talk about the two most amazing athletic beasts on earth, dogs. Like, if you ever see a sighthound run, it's incredible. It's
No,
an incredible.
I had a chance, bro. I lived with like 30 greyhounds before.
Yeah, I would love.
Literally. I lived with like 30 greyhounds, bro. And like so, you know, a backstory, but in prison they was running a dog program, so I joined it because I was a dog guy, whatever. But we was all handed a greyhound, and we all taught the greyhound. It was like rehabilitated greyhounds, so you had to kind of
It was probably part of
social.
the regap where they take you and
Yeah,
try
so
racing
because
greyhounds.
like they only knew racing, so we had to teach them social skills because they went on to live with families, so they wanted you to teach them how to sit, stay, like place, all of that type of thing. So they had to learn like 5 steps before they were able to go on and be rescued or whatever the case. But man, a very interesting dog, man. And it's weird and it's dumb and it's smart and stupid, but the most interesting thing about a greyhound is it fucking run. It's born to run. Like and it is very intriguing when you sit there and you isolate it and like you got a greyhound and it's running and it's your greyhound and it's like a beautiful thing. You like my greyhound can go. Like if you take the fence away, this dog is gonna go and go and go. So yeah,
Yeah,
a very
greyhounds.
interesting dog.
They're like sprinters, and then out here, like in Iowa, I watch this channel all the time because a friend of mine, he's got Walker hounds, and he's had what do they call them? Lurchers, bull lurchers. He's had uh, some, they're not pure bull or chur. Oh, they call them stag hounds too. I forget what the combo is. It's like racing greyhound outcrossed a
You got them
certain.
legs on them. Yeah, yeah.
Man, you see a video now with drones. They take drone footage of it. Like in the
Hmm.
wintertime, when all the crops are brought in, they have trouble, with the coyotes. So they'll hunt the coyotes, and they got these big old trucks, like a trailer, and they got all these like elevated uh, dog boxes, and they just flip a switch, man. And they jump out and tear ass after those things. It's incredible, and they'll
Yeah, because
grab
they got that greyhound in them.
Man, they grab a coyote and break his neck instantly. You
Hmm.
look, think this thing is a little frail looking, thin bone, light. Their head looks like a needle nose pliers. It's a tiny head. Their neck is bigger than their head, and it's like,
Yeah,
wow.
but that's when you breed bred for purpose though. Them dogs have a purpose. Like so I stay in residential, like a city area. Like you stay in the country. For you, breeding to a greyhound probably would be smart. Not of course not with English bulldog, but I'm just saying like longevity for a person like you to stay in the country right now, that would be more suitable and smarter for you to do it. For me to breed to a greyhound, even though I know the traits that a greyhound has and I've dealt with them, I would never bring a greyhound trait to what I'm doing in inner city because like a greyhound is way too much for a walk up and down a block. You know what I mean? Just like in-house protection. The dog is too antsy for that.
Yeah, I was just thinking if I ever did an Allant program, I would love to do game bred. The main genetics would be game bred stuff bred to racing greyhound with something that has more substance and bone to it, just to make
That's
the
what
most.
that's what Cannon Bulldog's doing. So if you just I ain't
Really,
promoting nobody program, but if you follow his program, that's what
yeah,
he doing. That same exact thing.
I think there's a dude in Kansas City. I forget his name. He had real nice oldies, and I think that's where that guy got his oldies. I think he was doing that, and I think they're doing like boxer cross to oldie, and maybe they're putting greyhound in there. I don't know. I haven't seen them, but I just know the people in England that are doing it. But as I get older, I'm like, God, our game dogs, the real game dogs, going to be around in 50 years, and greyhounds probably won't. Not the way they are now. Because the show dogs aren't the same as the racing dogs.
But yeah, wherever he got his bulldogs from, though, his bulldog they don't suffer from breathing program. I mean problems.
His oldies,
Yeah, them
yeah,
dogs breathe good. They
no,
working. They
yeah,
working, man.
I
He
like,
keep them dogs out on the spring pole.
yeah, I always watch his videos. I love those dogs. That's what I
Yeah,
like
they're
about oldies.
they're not full of slob and everything. Like them dogs are like working bulldogs for sure.
Do you know, like in 1999, I was at an outdoor show with American Bulldogs in Dacula, Georgia, and some dude had this little dog there. His name was Jack Dempsey. He was a little brindle dog, looked like a giant Frenchie kind of, you know, and he was just the coolest dog. And it was so hot, man. I mean, everybody had their dogs and air conditioning in their car, and this little sucker was running around, a dock tail. I mean, it's awesome. And he was brindle, he looked like an oldie, but not like an English. And so I started talking to the dude, and he's telling me, "Yeah, I breed. He's an old English bulldog." I said, "Man, he's awesome." And I said, "You know what? I watched that Westminster Kennel Club dog show all the time, and I always thought, man, these guys that are breeding oldies, they should use a little Staffy bull because it's an
Uh-huh.
athletic, healthy dog." And he nudges me with his shoulder and smiles. He goes, "Jack Dempsey's grandmother is a Staffy bull." And I was like, God. And I looked at him, and this guy was like a hillbilly dude. And I think he sold dogs cheap. And I thought, man, I said, would you sell him? I'd like to buy him. Because I thought, man, this would be kind of a neat thing to do. Staffy bull, English bulldog. And so, long story short, he sold me his sister. And I drove home with this funky looking female. And he was weird, like a weird combination. It was 25% Staffy Bull, and then she had even some of the there used to be a line called Hermes Old English Bulldogs. They were huge. The guy used that in there. I'm like, whoa, what a weird thing. But so anyway, I got this idea. I was going to start my own alternative bulldog. So I did. I called it the Alu Bull. I did it for probably up until 2014, maybe something like that. But I just didn't have a lot of passion for them. I was more passionate about the American Bulldogs. And I was really discouraged because when I was in the oldies, it was kind of starting out, and everybody was breeding tri-colored English bulldogs. Everything was like an English, just looked like a big English bulldog or cleaner, a little bit cleaner English bulldog. And my type of dogs, nobody wanted that. They didn't want a tight-skinned dog that was moderately bully. But that's why I like that guy Cannon's dogs. His were a little bigger. Mine, I tried to keep them around 50, 60 pounds, but that's what I like. And actually, my American Bulldogs kind of are closer in type to his dogs. They're not quite as bully, and they're a little bigger, but they're tight skinned, they're athletic, and they can
Yeah,
go and go.
his dog they carry a lot of bone.
Yeah, I'm not positive, but I think he got him from this guy that started that Allant program. I can't remember his name. He had a dog called Static or something. They were oldies, but they were big and they were super athletic because I competed against him in Iron Dog a couple times. And his dogs were big. I forget, he had a male that was real famous. I can't remember it anymore though. But I quit breeding them just because I have a cousin that has one that's like, I guess it's like, well, maybe it's dead now. It would be like 13 years old. I'll have to ask him if he still has Rusty. My dog Rusty, one of the last ones. And I liked them. They were cool, but that's why I guess I have disdain for English bulldogs because I didn't really understand fully how effed up the genetics are in those dogs. But I did things that just.
All right, I got a question for you though. Do you think some Johnson in there on them dogs?
On what dogs? On my Alu Bulls that I made?
No, not your dogs.
Oh,
On a production of those Kennan type of dogs.
oh, I don't know. I think it goes back to that guy I was talking about, and I think his dogs were pit bull bred to Hermes dogs, or maybe something like that. I'm not positive, but they were big. They're bully. They're big, but they could work. They could do all kinds of stuff. Weight pull. I remember one time he had a video of him on a treadmill running. Some of the Hermes dogs were like that. They were huge. I don't know if you remember back in the day, this guy, Greg Hermes, he was from Minnesota. And I think it turned out he and his family were game dog guys, real dog men that kind of knew their way around dogs. And there was a rumor once that Mr. Johnson bred to one of his dogs, and it was a big controversy. And it was because he lived on Mr. Johnson's property, Mr. Johnson's mother's house. He rented out to him for a while. He used to have a dog that was in Dog World that was like 140, a dog called like Dio. He was really thick, crazy looking dog. Anyway, I started talking to this guy. It was real interesting. I could tell he was a dog guy. He was a dog man, and he told me, his family for several generations were pit bull guys, and he found some English Mastiff that was 30 inches tall. He said, but he wasn't like a regular English Mastiff. He was alive. And I understand what that meant because I've been going to dog shows my whole life. And every time I see an English Bulldog or an English Mastiff in a dog show, it's laying on the concrete and 4 inches of its tongue is hanging on the concrete. It's just laying there. It's not, it doesn't seem awake. And he said, but this sucker was awake and he could do anything. And he said he killed dogs. He could breed a bitch that was, a third his height. He just spread his legs and get it there. But he said he was such a good dog and he bred it to an 80-pound Carver bitch. He said, I found a really big female pit bull and bred it to this dog. And he said he wasn't a good English Mastiff because he was only like 130 pounds. And anyway, that made these monster dogs that I think were very healthy. And he crossed I don't know what he did. Put English in there, put American in there, and that's kind of the start of his line. But his dogs were extreme, but they were kind of athletic and they were kind of tough, strong dogs.
Yeah.
And I think that's what that stuff goes back to. But I don't know. I quit paying attention to any oldie stuff. I was chastised right away because I like Jack Dempsey. I tried to reproduce that Jack Dempsey dog, like a 50, 55-pound, cobby, thick, looked like a Staffy bull with a bully head and a little thicker bone. But that wasn't the thing. I was blackballed because I didn't have the squishy, fat-faced dogs. And
So what you produce? You produce more snout, or
yeah, cleaner dogs. Basically, I had a dog that was the base of my whole thing. He was I had actually bought him from that guy later from the same Staffy bull. It was a 27-pound Staffy female, and the father, I don't know if he was a real English bulldog or if he was a white oldie. His name was Sumo, and the guy sold me the dog for $500. This little freaking dog was probably in my top 20 in my whole life of dogs. I called him Mojo.
yeah,
His official name was King Dick because the first English bulldog was named King Dick. Anyway, he looked like a Staffy bull. Like if you pulled the skin off a Staffy bull and wrapped it around the proportions of an English, but he was tight and he had kind of almost like an American bully head and muzzle. It was short. It didn't look like a Staffy bull, but it looked like a Staffy bull. It was thicker. And he was just, I don't know if you've ever had Staffy bulls, but they're like the best tempered bulldog in the world. I don't know
yeah.
what, but they're so happy, man. They're just happy go
They just
lucky.
want to impress people.
They wag their whole body, everything. They're just like a positive force in the universe. And a lot of the good ones, they're not outwardly dog aggressive. They're not looking for a fight. But if somebody even tries, they're like, okay, no problem. Let's do it. The minute you break them off in a fight, they're like, no problem. I'm positive again.
Yep.
I had this female, Cassie. She was a big 90-pound American bulldog, and she kind of grew up with Mojo. And Mojo was the kind of dog he loved to chase a Kong toy. Cassie liked to do it too, but she wasn't as into it as him. And they were cool, like they were buddies, but she'd get jealous, if he got too much attention. Well, he would constantly bring this big Kong toy back to me as I'm cleaning kennels and doing work. So I'd throw it and he'd come bring it back. Well, she got a little jealous, I guess, and he went to go grab it. She ran right up. As soon as he grabbed it, she like jumped on his ass. And I mean, you know how in the cartoons you see a fight, dog fight, and it looks like a cloud of dust and you see an arm and a leg come out. That's what it looked like. I had to run to the other end of the yard and they were right up against the kennel. And so I just took Cassie and pushed her into the kennel and then slammed the gate on their head. And he let go. And of course, she's on the other side of the gate, flipping out like she wants to kill him. She's so pissed off. I turn around. He's got the toy. He's got blood dripping from his tongue, and he's got the Kong toy. Like, throw it again, throw it again. He forgot about it completely. And I'm like, these son of bitches, these are funny dogs, and they're just the sweetest freaking dog. They're like the ultimate tiny bulldog.
Yeah.
And that's what my dogs were bred off. That dog Mojo, I bred him. I probably bred about 5 generations, and like I said, I just didn't have the passion I had for him that I had at the beginning. And things happened with that English blood. I didn't like it. I produced a dog I gave to this gal, Jamie Sweet, called Panda. She was like a 3rd generation, mainly English and Staffy bull. She didn't have any American in her. And I didn't find out for a few years later, but she bred it to a Frenchie, and that's what started her shorty bulls. They came off of that double Mojo daughter. And I have a feeling, I don't know for sure, I have a feeling a lot of those shorty bulls found their way into the micro exotic programs. I just see a lot of similarities in the dogs now. But
And what she produced.
yeah, Jamie's a real sweet gal. She's a dog person. Like even when I met her when she was an American Bulldog, so I knew her from there. She was like a real nice mom, real sweet. Um, but I could tell sometimes, women back then they they didn't assert their knowledge as much, and I could tell she knew a lot more about dogs than a lot of the dudes that were at these dog shows. And she had these English bulldogs that were. She had one that this dog Otis, I think his name was. He could do hang time. He could run up a frame. He was super athletic, and that's why I gave her the dog because I was like, man, breed it to him, and I just like a puppy back. And I did get a puppy, but the puppy didn't turn out. He just looked like an English bulldog with bad front legs. But that's what I think that's the beginning. The very first generation was my dog Panda bred to a Frenchie. I
Did
don't
you
know.
pick that? Did you pick that dog, or did she give you that dog?
The dog Panda, I produced her, and I had her and a female called Mona Lisa. I like Mona Lisa a
No,
little.
I'm saying that the dog that you ended up with out of the litter.
Oh, nobody
Did you
picked it
pick
because
that dog, or did she give it to you?
no, it was just one puppy. So that was the only one in there. I actually was going to get two pups, but I said, no, that's okay. I'll just take this one and go with it. He was a cool dog. He just had those front legs that looked like a lawn chair that was broke, He stooped up,
Yeah,
and I just couldn't handle that. Nowadays, I probably would try to breed it out, but I don't. Back then, I was like, no, I can't. So I found him a
yeah.
pet.
This has
But
been a really, really good show, man. Vito, would you be down to do a part two?
sure, yeah. I'm. That's the thing about me. I live out in the country, and I'm not married anymore, and I rarely can find a fat girl that wants to live here. So I'm just I'm just a crazy I'm just a crazy old guy that has a lot of experience. I'm like a country kid, I don't talk to people that much. So I get people that call me and I can tell they're like, I gotta get off the phone. This fucking old guy won't shut up. But
No, 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 no. We
I
love it.
know, we've been going too, Duro, man. But when you get two like-minded people, man, sometimes that's how it happens,
No, that's what I'm saying. Like that's why I was like, nah, don't feel like that, Vito. We love it over here. Like we love like dog talk and learning, especially from experienced dogmen and dogmen who do, who did it for many years like you, because what we learned today and when we replay this, like we can some of the things that you did and some of the game that you gave us, like we can apply that to what we got going on and just like, just make our stuff sharper. So we appreciate it. But I didn't really get to the questions that I wanted to ask you. So I was like, yo, let me let me ask you, would you be down to do a part two down the line?
sure. Yeah, anytime. The only time I can is on Thursday night, but all the rest of the time
Oh,
I'm
for
usually home.
sure. Oh, I'm always over there, man. I'm always over there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, I
Shout
don't
out
get
to
to
the
talk that much over there because I talk too much. Aria, I can see it in Aria's eyes. She's like, "Oh shit, I got to stop him. It's going to be a 4 hour thing."
man.
Ah, shout out to Aria, man. Shout out to the whole Samba Kennels family, man. I will definitely
Oh
be
yeah,
over
they're
there
cool. I
tomorrow.
love it. I never thought when she asked me to join their group, I thought,
Yeah.
no, I can't get along with dog people. I can't be a partner with somebody. But I asked her, I said, what if I want to do this? What if are you gonna? And she's like, no, we want you to do whatever you want to do. And it's so weird. I don't know how many months it's been, but I love it, man. I love it. We got a really
Yeah.
cool group. Aria's cool. I love all those people. We all come from a little different experience and stuff. We all have our own little niche, and it's
Yep.
just freaking cool. It's really cool. It's fun. I joined. Biggest reason why I joined is because I don't know anything about social media. I'm an idiot when it comes to that stuff. And like 2 days ago, my iPhone gave out. It screwed up, so I went and got a new iPhone. I've had that phone for like 4 years because I can't stand to get a new phone because everything gets screwed up. I can't remember my passwords. I I'm like, I want to throw the phone up against the wall. I can't, if it doesn't, I can't figure it out. It pisses me off. So Aria is like, she's a good dog person. Like she knows, she can select dogs, and she knows her way around dogs, but she's also like the most incredible
Yep.
promoter and social media person, and she's very professional. She's everything I'm not.
Yep.
So I'm like, hey, you can sell these dogs. That you don't know how much I love that. I mean, I like dealing with people. I like to talk to people, but you know how it is, chasing people
Yeah.
around for money, and then having a contract and covering yourself and all this stuff you got to go through. And I don't know anything about promoting my dogs. I suck. Like when I got into it, you just open Dog World and look in the back, and then you just got a reputation. With my American Bulldogs, I only produce a few litters a year.
Hmm.
50% of them go to people that have had my dogs for years, or their
Mm.
friends, or neighbor, or something like that. So I don't even know how to market dogs. And she is the best I've ever seen.
Yeah, she's
So
great.
it's a great partnership. I love it.
I love it for you, man. Like I enjoy Thursdays watching y'all, man, and the dynamic of y'all show. Um, it's very authentic. It's not forced. It's not like, hey, we really don't even like each other, but we just up here. Is one of those things. It's like you could tell who's the boss, and then you could tell who's second in command, and who you could just see it. It's all right there, and so it's so authentic, man, that I love watching it. You know
It's
what
a
I
cool
mean?
group.
And
Like we all genuinely really like each other, and we
I
all bring
know.
a lot to the whole thing. It's fun. It's a lot of fun.
Hmm.
I'm the
Hmm.
crazy grandpa uncle. I won't shut the fuck up. But it's fun. I enjoy
Yeah.
it. I never thought I'd get into another breed, and this breed is Brazilian bulls are weird. They're different. You talk about easy, low drive. They don't. None of mine have. They're not like the American bulldogs. But
Yeah.
at 63, it's kind of nice. It's kind of nice to. I can leave. It's like, oh, I better get that out of there. They're going to eat it. And no, they don't. They don't bother with it. So it works out good.
I heard that. We gonna talk about that on part two, man. We're gonna get to the Brazilian Bull on part two. Uh when we do part two with Vito, man. Shout out to everybody that came, man. AQ Henry was in the building. Shout out to AQ Henry, Havoc 360, Dallas World, Lorena, Gorilla Backs Kennels. Uh, who else, man? Who else? Big Biz, of course. Road Wolf Project, Nelly Nell Mac, Havoc 360. Um, I think that's it. But shout out to everybody that was in the chat, man. I hope y'all enjoyed this show. My brother's kennel pretty much took over, but it's okay. Because I am the type of guy that shares the sugar, with my brothers. So it's one of those things where I knew he was going to be excited because he loved Bulldogs, and having Vito on the panel was going to, you know, make him talk more. So it was just great to see. So, but it's all good. We got part two coming up.
Oh, so
Whenever
you
we
like did
be
you
able to
you
do.
like did that on purpose?
Oh, I knew you was going. I knew you was going. You lit up when we was backstage. When you was just like, oh, when I said Vito, you started with the American Bulldogs. You lit up. So I already knew right there. Soon as you
Word.
said, oh, I knew right there
Word.
that you was going to talk to him on that level. And
I
so
enjoyed
that's
it.
why I just
It
let
was
y'all know the
it was
simple
awesome.
fact.
It was really
Yeah,
awesome.
I
I
really did.
enjoy it when you
Yeah,
talk
not
when you
not
talk
Yeah,
likewise, likewise.
to a guy that is he knows
yeah.
what the fuck he's talking about. He's not bullshitting you, or he doesn't have some weird
Hmm.
agenda. It's awesome, and I don't mean to come off as some kind of expert, because I'm not. That's one thing
No,
I've
we
learned
we
over
we
the years.
learning, we educate, man. So like,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's the thing. When I first started out, man, I thought I knew it all, and now
Of course.
I realize I don't know shit. I don't know anything. We You think you know stuff, but you don't, you know, and you
Yeah.
gotta, you need to stretch and learn and open your brain up for new things. That's the biggest thing when you get old. You just assume, oh, I'm not doing that. I know that don't work.
Not at all. Not at all. We all have to think about it like that, right? And that's what
Yeah,
I'm saying. Like, uh when I do my shows, people think I'm trying to be a know-it-all, but I tell people all the time, like, if it's something that I don't know or something that you know something a little bit more than me, that's okay. Let's build off each other because that's how the right message is going to get out there, and that's how we're going to build and make these dogs continue to make these dogs better. It's not about who knows it all because nobody knows it all, but it's about us building together and giving this education to our brothers and sisters, dog men and dog women who want to learn, and that's what it's about.
exactly.
Facts.
That's the thing. It's not an exact science. It's probably closer to an art form, but you know,
Exactly.
one artist and another artist are totally different. Some people, that's a
They're
yin
going to
and
see
yang,
things differently. Exactly.
right? And
Exactly.
you need the difference because sometimes you need, it doesn't matter if you like the guy or not. Sometimes you need what he did.
Yep. Yeah.
Information. Right, right.
Yeah. Absolutely. That's why I said I don't understand why it be so much disrespect coming across, from different dog men, especially like I'd say it all the time. I don't really care like what a person was really breeding if it was ethical, and they got the productions to show like, hey man, this is what I did. How can you not respect that man? Like you can't take away what this person has accomplished. And that's just one of those things where I don't understand. Like people try to belittle
Or
people in the dog
discredit. Yeah.
business or the dog world, discredit them. You can't do that. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just got to be like a little bit more humbleness across the board. You know what I mean? That's just how I feel like when I see things. Like just a little bit more humbleness across the board. We learn together. It doesn't matter where you at on the in the classroom. It don't matter if you in the front or you in the back, you in the middle. It don't matter if you at the A class, the B class, the C class, or the D class. The thing is we all here to learn, and that's the main thing, and that's how we gotta look. So, like you said, that's true because if you ever drew before, if you ever did music, if you ever did anything in an art form, then you understand that everybody's brain is different. How I might hear a beat, Vito might not hear a beat. He might not hear that. He might focus on the percussions more, and BJ might listen more to the bass line. And I might like the drum kick, and so it's different. But that doesn't mean that because Vito like the percussions and I like the drum kick, that don't mean that I'm not on the same level or right there with him or BJ. That just means that our brains is different, and that's the main thing. And people gotta understand that with these dogs and keep it about the dogs. Whereas though respect respect your fellow dog men and your fellow dog woman, man. We got to be more humble, and that's just what I'm about. And I try to tell my brothers the same thing. We like to be humble dog men who don't be into the foolishness or the drama because it opens more opportunities on a wide spread for us, for people to know about our platform, our show, and you know what I'm saying. And so it just makes things more better when it's more authentic and not just drama or hate or just a whole bunch of foolishness.
Negative energy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep, egos kill everything. I used to say, man, I used to be terrible on the internet. People would mess with me or say shit about my dogs, and I would just, it would turn into a fight, a big, long waste of time. And
Yep.
now I'm older, my testosterone is lower, so I let shit slide. I don't care anymore about that
Yeah.
shit. I just like
Right.
talking dogs,
Yeah,
and
and I kind of sense that though. That's why, like Daryl said, I kind of took over because if I'm talking to a person and like my ego is intact, man. So if I'm talking to a person and I can tell they, too strong on ego and shit, I probably would have been stopped talking to you. You know what I mean? But I felt like the conversation was neutral when it come to dogs. So what you were saying, it just kept me questioning. The next question because you're a little older than us too, so you got that experience. So a lot of things for me was just knowledgeable information that I needed to know. You know,
Exactly. Exactly. And that's why I asked him to come on the platform just for that knowledge. Cause like I said, I hear him every Thursday. You know what I'm saying? I hear him every Thursday. So when I listen to him, I listen to Aria, I listen to Lauren and everybody else on the panel. I'm checking them out, I'm listening. But one show that really was like, man, I want to talk to Vito is when you was talking about the hate, Vito, when you was talking about the nonsense that being a dog game. And I commented after the show. I commented in the chat too, but I commented after the show as well because it's one of those things. It's like, we like we gotta stop like all this dividance in the dog community. Like it shouldn't be like that. Like everybody is doing the same thing just in a different way. So it's like, trying to belittle your brother or your mentor or whoever trying to belittle him or disrespect him. It's just one of those things that I just don't like. And it just rubs me the wrong way. That negative energy, it doesn't go very far. And so, um just to see that you guys always keep it about the dogs, it made me, you know, want to be like, you know what, man, I don't care goes on. I want to continue to just make my shows uh, around the education and about these dogs, whatever I have to give. I want to continue to do that. And it's been working for me. It's been working. So I want to continue to do that rather than to be, arguing with like foolishness that don't mean it ain't never gonna go nowhere, So it's just a waste of energy, you know.
if you don't
So
feed
it's
it, it
just like,
won't grow.
Yeah, and that's the problem.
exactly. Eh,
I used to feed it, and it's like I wasted hours going back and forth or whatever with this
I
war
mean, and
because
that go both ways though. Like, I mean, you can have a bunch of positive energy too, though. But if you don't feed it, and if you don't keep it coming, if you don't, do your part, then that'll fade away. And the same with negative energy. So if you don't feed it, it won't grow, man. And that's anything in life that's living, any type of
well, that's what it
mechanism,
is.
organism. Yeah.
That's what it
yeah,
is. And we just got to keep on building one brick at a time on, what I'm saying, having respect. I'm not trying to change nobody or change nobody ways. I don't really care what nobody else does, but I'm talking about when it comes from me and my
And
circle,
us, yeah, we
you know,
positive over here for sure.
we positive as a mug. So I just want to continue that because it's working for us. Like, what I'm saying is it really is, yo. So more than you guys might realize it, but I realize it. And so it's like one of those things. It's like, we going, man, yeah, you know what I'm saying. So it's just like I don't even want to be involved in the foolishness, man. So, I thank you, Vito. Live your life, dogs, man. Thank you for tuning in, bro. I thank you, Vito. And
yeah.
we
Thank
we
you, thank you.
we we gonna talk more, whenever you got another chance to get on, and we'll do part two, man. But I'll definitely be on your show tomorrow to show y'all love like I always do, and learn about the Brazilian bull and whatever you guys is bringing, because it's always good content. I appreciate what you guys is doing
Cool.
as well.
Thank you. Thanks for tuning in.
No
It's
doubt.
awesome. There's a quote
For
that I
sure it is.
years and years ago that sums all that up. It was from Eleanor Roosevelt, our first lady back in the 20s, I guess it
Mm-hmm.
was. It says, "Great minds discuss ideas, average minds discuss events, small minds discuss people." And I thought, man,
Mm.
that's exactly what's wrong with these freaking people. Like
Yep.
they want to talk about you as a person,
Mm-hmm.
they want to talk about the dog show, but nobody wants to talk about ideas and breeding. That's what I like. That's why I think you learn.
Exactly.
I'd love to hear somebody else's experience. I did this, I did that. This is what happened. It's it's cool. That's why I love to read pedigrees and I love to talk to people that have bred dogs and get the inside scoop, what their thinking was, you know.
Me too. Me too, Vito. I got a whole. I'm not lying. I have a whole scroll of pedigrees in my phone. Like I got an album of pedigrees, not just my dogs, but just dogs I'm a fan of, just dogs that I grew up off of, just dogs from the '90s, 2000s. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just one of those
Word
things
up.
I like to. Yeah, like real talk. Like I can really show it. Like, and it's one of
No,
those
I
things.
believe
It's
you,
like
bro. You know, we
you know,
talk outside of this, so I believe you for sure.
for sure, for sure. Just being a student of it, and just being a student of dog breeding, and from as a little boy to a grown man is it's the same excitement for me. You know what I'm saying? So like just like seeing like I seen Aria post a pedigree to one of Brazilian bulls, and I seen it has some I think it has some Camelot, some gargoyle pits in there, um, or something like that in there. But I was looking at it and I was like, I was like, yeah, okay, because I seen some other dogs that had that same kind of genetic makeup, So I was just like, I was like, what I'm saying, I like this right here. So it just intrigued me, you know what I mean, to look at it.
Oh, it
And
intrigues the shit out of me. I keep trying to figure out how do they do it? How do they get these crazy looking dogs with all this muscle on their head and neck and shoulder? I mean, they're not perfect dogs by any stretch, but man, there's not
yeah,
just one or two, that they produce. There's a whole bunch of them.
it's a
They're
whole
just
bunch.
freaky.
Absolutely.
You got some
Absolutely,
of them
man.
dogs, Vito?
I have four right now. Yeah,
You
I
said,
love
yeah,
them.
we definitely got to do a part two, man. Because I'm just learning today. You know what I mean? Like I told you that in the beginning, like
Yeah, we will. We will.
yeah,
We
now
we gonna get
all
it
is
done.
welcome. But you know me, I go to dissect it, man. Like anybody come to the panel, I'm like, what? All right, I'm gonna add you. We're gonna figure it out. So
Yeah, Brazilian bulls are very odd, very strange. In Brazil, they call it when they do hybrid vigor, they call it blood shock. So they do these F1s and F2s, and when I first got into it, Ari was like, "No,
I don't know. I don't know if that's part two or not. I don't want you to go too hard, and then that's part two.
oh, yeah. Yep, you're right." But I enjoyed it, guys.
I
Thank you so much.
thank you so much, Vito. Man, let's
I
walk it
like a
out. We gotta.
I
What'd
like
you
a
say,
podcast
Vito?
when I'm not on camera too. I have a face made for radio, so it works out good.
So,
No, that's
so
how we like to do it. We like to do it like the radio, man, because like we feel like it's less pressure, when we speak, and like we used to have our cameras on and stuff, but like I kind of took it off. I told everybody turn it off, and it just kind of just worked because sometimes people got stuck on camera. They forgot what they was about to say because like when you first start in YouTube, everybody's not comfortable. Sometimes you talk and you try and talk too fast and you jump from one thing to another thing. So it was kind of like that. So like once we did that, like you listen to our shows early on until you listen to our shows current, you're like, oh yeah, these guys definitely involved. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
it
So
worked. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
it
it's a cool,
works.
cool
Yeah,
dynamic.
yeah. Thank you, man. So we just got this segment called "Walk It Out," and then we gonna end, man. So just walk it out. They love this right here. So let's walk it out for the guys that stayed, man. That's for y'all that stayed, man. I know y'all love to walk it out. We just gonna walk it out because this was a good show, good mission, and the mission is completed, man. Y'all know my slogan, man. Rest in peace, Dice. Ain't nothing nice. You only get one, so make sure you enjoy this life. One love, one dog, one bone. Easy.
mean, the American Pit Bull and the Bully, they're like family to us, you know? It's the loyalty, man. Nothing like it. Yep, they're special. And remember, new Duro Lounge podcast episodes are out every Wednesday.
I'm hard, I'm tough, I'm Duro. My dogs stay healthy, my money stay true. I'm from the B where the streets stay cool. 20 stay living, that's the golden rule. I've been ballin' for years, now you knew. Welcome to the bully camp, we the crew. Where the real ones shine and the fake ones lose. Step into the light if you're ready to move. We the kings, we the ones that they praise. Living fast, in the glow auto blaze. Money straight, like it's set in a maze. We the kings, till the end of our day. I'm Duro, my dogs stay healthy, my money stay true. I'm from the P where the streets stay cruel. 20 and stay living, that's the golden rule.